Are you ready?
A happy hour Friday edition of the Sports Bash starts right now. What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. And you out there, yes, indeed. It is Happy Hour Friday. It is Memorial Day weekend Friday. We've got you covered. Busy show today. Hopefully, you will stick with us for the entire 4 hours. We get you cranked off today. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City stops by at 2:40. Paul Hudrick will join us to talk Sixers and Wizards in the 3 o'clock hour. Andrew DeCecco has football at 4. Bob Wankel on the Phils. Happy Hour Friday with PT. Kerr at 5:25. You know, we got a lot going on this weekend. It is Memorial Day weekend. Everything's back and open, seemingly. And some news today on the Sixers as the mayor of Philadelphia has lifted the restrictions on Wells Fargo Center, meaning the Sixers will have full capacity for their next home game. That date was originally if they made the finals, but they will now have full capacity at Wells Fargo Center if the Sixers play another home game in this series against the Wizards in Game 5 or for Game 1 in Round 2, the next home game in Philadelphia. So June 2nd is the date. And, of course, when the Phillies get home from Tampa, they are off tonight. Bizarre quirk in the schedule that the Phillies do not play a Friday baseball game. I don't know that it's ever happened in my life that a summer on a Friday, unless there's a rain out, that the Phillies have not played a baseball game. I don't know what the quirk in the schedule is. I don't know why they're not playing tonight. But the Phillies have an off day on a Friday, which is bonkers. So there's no Phils. There's no Sixers tonight. So all you got is some NBA playoffs, some NHL playoffs, and the like. We got it all covered for you here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Download the free mobile app. If you're watching the show live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can always hit us up on the stream. You can hit us up on the text board, 609-403 0973 609-403 0973 as we get you cranked up here on a Friday edition with the Sixers stuff is obviously at the top of the list of things that are going on with them playing in the playoffs. Here's my question that I wanted to ask some people out there today. We all know that the Sixers are a very polarizing discussion. You're on one side, you're on the other side. Ben Simmons is this, Ben Simmons is that. Mike McGarry wrote a column about it today at the Press of Atlantic City about, hey, we all just need to get along. It's kind of what I've said before. The only way, though, we all get along is if you are more understanding, right? So the underlining factor of the 76ers and how deep they can go. You know, let me ask you this question. All right. How many people out there would rather play the Bucks than the Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals? If I say, look, the Sixers are going to beat the Wizards, the Sixers are going to win round 2, who would you rather play? If you are listening today, do me this favor. If you've never texted the show in your life, everybody listening, I would like for you to just give me a sample size via text, 609-403-0973. And if you're watching on the stream, who would you rather play, the Nets or the Bucks? If you're listening to the show, you've never texted the show before in your life. You just listen all the time. You've never texted in. If you've texted, never texted in. If you never ever text again, just do me this favor. Just text in which team you'd rather play, Nets or Bucks. 609-403-0973. That's my question for you guys right now. So if you could do that for me, just if you're out there listening, just text in which team you'd rather play, Nets or Bucks. Because I think most people believe that the Sixers are going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And if they do, which team is more of a problem? Who would you rather face, the Nets or the Bucks? And then once these text messages come in, I will tally them up and get a feel for what team you guys would rather face, right? And then I'll give you my answer. So far, every text message is the same team. So keep them coming. 609 403 0973. 609 403 0973. If you're watching the show in the StreamYard, let me know. Which team would you rather play? And I see a lot of text messages coming in. I appreciate that. So if you're listening to the show, look, not everybody texts, not everybody calls, not everybody engages. People just like to listen. But if you've never texted before, this is one time that I ask you. I rarely do this, and I'll ask, hey, do me a favor, because I really want to get as many people's opinion on this as possible. Which team would you rather face? The Nets or the Bucks? 609-403-0973. And I asked that question based on something yesterday that Keith Smith said. So if you were listening to yesterday's show, maybe Josh, you know what comment I'm talking about? What? There was something Keith Smith said yesterday that made me really think about this topic and this conversation. There was something that Keith Smith brought up on yesterday's Inside the Sixers segment, and it made me say, huh. And if you remember that conversation from yesterday, if you were listening to what Keith said, he said something about this matchup that really made me go, huh, would I rather play the Nets or the Bucks? So we'll get into that. Keep your text messages coming. 609-403-0973. All right, couple things I want to dive into. Now, the Sixers, they're going to win this series against the Wizards, and if they don't, it's an epic fail, right? If they don't win the series against this team, it's an epic fail. They are absolutely better than the Washington Wizards. The Wizards have no answer for Joel Embiid. They have no answer. Look, quite frankly, the Wizards have no answer for Ben Simmons, by the way. For all this, like this guy, that guy, the problem in this series is the Wizards have no answer for Ben Simmons. And it ties into a little bit of which team would you rather play. They have no answer for Tobias Harris, right? They don't have anybody that can match up with him. They have no answer for Ben Simmons. They have zero players that can match up with Ben Simmons. And they have literally nobody that can play Joel Embiid. Now, at least Joel Embiid, they can try. Look, if I'm the Nets, if I'm the Wizards, by the way, okay, I'll tell you what I would do. If I'm the Wizards, I might take my chances. And I know this is like, look, I'm down 2-0. I just got lambasted by 25 points. I don't even know if Russell Westbrook, he did not practice today. So who knows if he's even going to play in the game. So if Russell Westbrook can't play, even if Westbrook can play, I have no answers. There's two things that I would try to do in this situation. All right? If I am the Wizards, there's two things I'm trying here on Ben Simmons. One of them is I might try to play Daniel Gafford against him. Daniel Gafford is an athletic guy. He's 6'10". He's a guy who has a lot of energy. And maybe his size is the problem that Ben Simmons, one of the issues that the Wizards are having is they can't sag off of Ben Simmons because the Sixers shooters are too good. Isn't that a refreshing thing to hear, by the way? The Sixers shooters are too good. I mean, you haven't been able to say that since like Andrew Toney was here. The Sixers shooters are too good. Doesn't that just come rolling right off your tongue? Yeah, right. The Sixers shooters are too good. Curry and Green are too good. So they can't sag off Ben Simmons like they normally did because those shooters are knocking down open looks. They also can't, they don't have anybody to defend Simmons one-on-one because he's too big. You put a bigger guy on him, like could Rui Hachimura defend Ben Simmons? I mean, he's not the same size as Simmons, but I mean, he's got some athletic ability. He's definitely a pretty hard worker. You know, maybe he could body him up a little bit, give him some problems. The problem becomes if you put Hachimura on him, then whoever Hachimura has typically guarded is in a mismatch. But Daniel Gafford is a guy who's 6'10", has the foot, athletic ability. He's got the foot speed. I don't know if he has the foot speed, but I think he has the athletic. Like if you watch Gafford play, he is an Energizer bunny out there, man. So he might be a guy that I would probably take a chance on. Hey, you know what? See if you could stay in front of him. Like that would be. They don't really have another answer. They really don't have another answer in that whole matchup there. Simmons' size is such a problem for them. But, obviously we know Embiid's size is a problem. Now, they're doubling Embiid. That's what they did in game number 2. They doubled Embiid, which left, and we've talked a lot about the ability, when somebody's getting doubled, Embiid, the lanes are wide open for Ben Simmons to kind of utilize. All right, we got a lot of text messages coming in here. So appreciate that. And we'll keep them coming for a couple more minutes, and then we'll kind of tally them all up. The question we asked is, who would you rather face, the Nets or the Bucks? 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Which team would you rather face in the Eastern Conference Finals? Nets or Bucks? All right. There you go. And we'll tally up the questions. We'll tally up your answers. I think if you look at it from this direction for this Wizards series, I don't know what Westbrook's deal is going to be. I mean, he did not practice today. I don't know. He got hurt in the fourth quarter of that game, so you can't say, well, he didn't come back in that game. They were getting blown out. I don't think he was going to come back based on that. But did he not come back because of the score? Did he not come back because of the injury? He injured his right ankle. Remember, he stepped on Korkmaz's foot. He then kind of limped off the court. Now, that being said, when the fan dumped popcorn all over him, he seemed to be okay, right? He wasn't walking so gingerly on that foot when the popcorn got dumped on him. Now, he got treatment on his ankle today. Scott Brooks told reporters we'll see how he feels tomorrow. I would anticipate that Westbrook tries to gut it out. But I think we can all, and Mark Jackson brought this up yesterday with us, Westbrook looked gassed. He is doing a lot. They have played a lot of basketball down the stretch here. And for them to kind of lean on him and for him to play the way that he needs to play, it's going to be asking a lot. So I think we can all kind of agree that this Westbrook is not 100% Westbrook. So we'll start with that today. Your text messages continue to come in, 609-403-0973. I like some of the answers that are coming in here. This one guy's texted 15 times. That's pretty amazing. Literally 15 times the same guy has texted nonsense. That is dedication to sit on your phone and send that many text messages. Holy mackerel. I wish I had the time that gentleman has. 15. I only asked for one. Hey, if you don't ever text the show, just send me one text. That's it. Just who would you rather play? 15 is very nice of you. That is going out on a super limb there, pal. Everybody else followed the rules. Just one text. That's all I asked for. And we're getting them in 16 times. Wow. See, when you text in again, your text gets bumped to the top of the list. That's why his number keeps coming up to the top of my list. And I'm like, And then it has a number next to you of how many times that number has texted you. And now it's up to 17. Holy moly. It's obviously Happy Hour Friday here on the Sports Bash. You know what? I want to get into last night as well. The games last night were – so let's start with this. The Lakers are going to win that series, and it's crazy because I feel bad for Phoenix. You don't get a healthy Chris Paul. You don't win both the games at home. You now have to go on the road, and LeBron James looked like he was in attack mode last night, and that was, for 24 minutes last night, it seemed like, for like the first half of that game, I thought the Suns did a really good job. We talked about, how Ben Simmons, and LeBron James, guys like that, they do such a great job of controlling the tempo. And I thought the Suns played at a tempo that they wanted to in the first half. But then LeBron James, who, for whatever reason, he has this ankle problem. We don't know where he's at. The Suns defense kept him from being able to be that downhill player. We talk about that with Ben a lot. He's got to get downhill. He's got to get downhill. He's got to play that way. They did such a good job of basically keeping LeBron from getting to the paint. But then in the second half, you saw a different LeBron James. The first half, LeBron James was, the facilitator guy. And then in the third quarter, you got the attacking one. And he set the tone in that third quarter, I thought. And that was a big difference in the game. They scored 33 in the third. They kind of start to pull away. And now all of a sudden, the Lakers hold a 2-1 series lead. You got Davis with 34 points, 11 rebounds. But LeBron, again, he didn't have a big scoring night, just 21. I say just 21. But look, LeBron's not a big scorer. He can score. He scores more aggressively than a guy like Simmons does. But the 9 assists is the number that really jumps off the page. The 21 points, obviously, but a lot of that came more in the second half. So LA leads the series against the Suns 2-1. You had that last night. And then how about the Bucks? Because I asked this question in part because Milwaukee was so dominant last night. My God, they just absolutely took control of that game. Think about this. We always talk about you got to have stars. You got to have multiple stars. And then the Heat make it to the finals last year. And they have Jimmy Butler, who's a star, but he's not like a superstar. So in that game last night, I'm thinking to myself, all right, Milwaukee, who just absolutely ran away from Miami in the first quarter, then blew the doors off them in the third quarter. That was never a game. I think the Bucks sweep them. I think Miami's done. Look, Miami's a one-star team. That's it. They got Jimmy Butler, who's a second-tier star. It's no slight to him. He's a second-tier star. They made it to the finals last year. I think that's purely on the bubble and the way their roster's set up. They got a bunch of young shooters who were essentially shooting in open gyms last year. That Miami team is an average basketball team. You watch them last night, you see that that's just an average team. In the biggest game of the season for them, they come off to a slow start, and the game's over before it really starts. So when you watch Milwaukee last night and what they're doing to Miami, we asked you that question. Who would you rather face, Miami or Milwaukee? 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. All right, see all you guys texting in. Get your messages in. I'll ask you again, and if you're listening, 609-403-0973. Just send me a text. Who would you rather face, the Bucks or the Nets? I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Got a busy show today. McGarry in 20 minutes. Susie Hunter is going to join me. She is doing a ballpark tour all throughout Major League Baseball. She's already visited Citizens Bank Park, Yankee Stadium, Citi Field, Fenway Park. Going to tell us some of the great fare and places to check out when you go to these different ballparks. She'll join me at 3. Paul Hudrick at 3:20. Local product, Colin Thompson from the Carolina Panthers. We're checking in on how OTAs are going, the summer, and all that stuff. Memorial Day weekend here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. The Sports Bash on a Friday. It's brought to you by Matt Blatt Nissan, the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan. Open, Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot. Online, mattblattnissan.com. Download the free mobile app. And one more time, who would you rather play, the Nets or the Bucks? 609-403-0973. Just don't text me 22 times. That's all I ask. 2:26. Here we go on a Friday. Happy Hour Friday. Of course, Memorial Day weekend. The weather doesn't look great for Memorial Day weekend, but still enjoy it. Get out there, do stuff. Get back out on the town. Enjoy yourselves. And stay safe while you're doing it. All right, so we are asking you, who would you rather play? The Bucks or the Nets? And I got to get my little tally sheet together here. We got Bucks, Nets. Who would you rather face? 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. All right? So let's go through the text messages here and see. All right. This one says, yeah, wow, really like pick your poison. But I would take my chances with the Nets only because I would like to see them challenged with the Sixer defense, and then they have to play a lot of defense too. By the way, I'm Jay Jones. Really enjoy your show, bro. You do an awesome job. Well, thank you so much, Jay Jones. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. So you would rather play the Nets. All right, so let's see. What else we got here? Bucks gets a vote. I'll try to go as fast as I can here. Nets. So the Nets leading 2-1. I'm a little surprised by the Nets being the pick here. Now, let's see. Another Nets. And Nets. Well, you surprised by that? Nets. Wow. Nets already in a pretty big. Matt says, I want to win more than anything, and there isn't going to be an easy matchup, whoever it is. But another reason I want to play and beat the Nets is for our national reputation to be finally praised instead of ignored and crapped on. They hate us. They hate the process, but we could shut everyone up by sticking it to the propaganda, baby. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, you want to beat the best. Another Nets vote there. Let's see. Mike, thank God. Great show. Format is fantastic. Please, more Ben Simmons, Mike. That's very nice of you. All right. This one is a vote for the Bucks. This one is a vote for the Bucks. Oh, man, we got a lot here. Bucks can't handle the 76ers. Mark from Egg Harbor Township says, I'd rather play the Nets. The Nets struggle defensively and on the defensive boards. By the way, I don't think Brooklyn gets through Milwaukee. Sixers championship to lose, in my opinion. Let's go Sixers. That is from Mark in Egg Harbor Township. What's up, Mark? At first, I would have said the Bucks without a second thought, Mike. Damn, they look good. But if I had to pick it, it might still be the Bucks because of the star power in Brooklyn. So there's another vote for the Bucks. This is a vote for the Nets. This is a vote for the Bucks. This one's a vote for the Nets. This one says rather play the Nets. In my honest opinion, the Bucks have more experience playing with one another for the last couple of years. That's another interesting point. The Bucks team has been together for a while. Jeffrey from Summers Point says Brooklyn, hands down. Brooklyn, hands down. Not even close, he says. There's a vote for the Bucks. Bucks get back on the board. Rather play the Bucks. All right, now here comes a bevy of Bucks fans. Rather play the Bucks. I'm a Lakers fan, but I'd rather play the Bucks in the finals. So is that a vote for you'd rather play the Bucks, I guess? There's a net vote. Bucks, who cares? Bring on whoever. That's from Joe. What's going on, Joe? Good to have you. Nets, another Nets vote there. All right, and there's a vote for the Bucks. I'll try to tally these up as fast as I can here. And there's a lot of Bucks votes coming in all of a sudden. Nets all day, baby. Nets are in the lead. This is John D. Says the Nets. I'm a little surprised, by the way, that the Nets have gotten so many votes. They're actually kind of pulling away here. Now the Bucks are starting to make a little bit of a return here. It's like actually it's only a 2-vote. Much rather play the Nets. No depth, no defense, says this text message here. I would rather play the Nets. So another Nets vote. What else we got? We got a Bucks vote over there. Oh, I just dropped my pen. These tallies are coming in so fast and furious that I dropped my pen on the floor. There we go. Picked it back up. More Bucks votes coming in. So right now, with where we are, got another Bucks vote. So you know where we are? You wouldn't believe this. We're tied. We've got the exact same amount on both sides. I guess you would say this, that there is no definitive answer here. It seems that half the people rather play the Bucks and half the people rather play the Nets. All right. So interestingly enough, I thought it was Keith Smith who said this on the air with us. It might have been Paul Hudrick. It might have been Mark Jackson. Excuse me. Sorry. I don't remember who said it. I thought it was Keith Smith. And I asked Keith about who can defend the Sixers, which team could defend. The Sixers have matchup problems. And he said that the one team that could give Ben Simmons problems, because he talked about it, because I asked him about Ben Simmons. It might have been Mark Jackson, now that I'm thinking about it, that the one team, because of the problems that Ben Simmons brings, I know a lot of people out there don't think that Ben Simmons is this offensive issue. He is. He doesn't always score the points, but he generates them. The problem that the Wizards have is that they don't have anybody that can man him up by himself. They don't have a big enough guy, the foot speed, and they don't have a guy that can, size-wise, size him up. So if you go one-on-one with Simmons with a smaller guard, that's when he's going to back you down and he'll take the ball to the basket. When you say, why is he aggressive tonight? Look at the defender on him. A lot of times that defender is most of the time, that defender is a smaller guy who Ben can just back his way down on. The Milwaukee Bucks have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Ben Simmons can't just back him down and take him to the weight room. Giannis can stare at Ben Simmons in the face. So that defensive matchup may make Ben Simmons a lot different player against the Bucks. Now, on the flip side, the Brooklyn Nets could send Kevin Durant his way. The difference is Kevin Durant is a much smaller guy in terms of body type. He's got the height to defend Ben Simmons, but he's a pretty skinny guy. If he's bodying Ben Simmons up all night, does that take away some of his offensive prowess? I think that's an interesting dynamic there. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. So think about that when I ask you that question again. Who would you rather face? Ben Simmons against Giannis? I should say Sixers against Giannis and the Bucks, or Sixers against Kevin Durant and the Nets? 609-403-0973. When we come back, Mike McGarry, columnist over at the Press of Atlantic City, he writes, the Ben Simmons believers and doubters need to chill out. Kumbaya, my lord. We all need to come together, says Mike McGarry. He'll explain. Coming up next here on the Sports Bash Live, Memorial Day weekend, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. All right, 2:40 here on a Friday, Memorial Day weekend. It's the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. His must-win column says, the believers and the doubters need to chill out. Can't we all just get along? I don't think so, man. I don't think that will ever happen. It's a good column. You should check it out today at the Press of Atlantic City. And Mike McGarry joins me here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. You know that can't happen, Mike. He either stinks or he's great. There's no in-between.
Well, wishful thinking, basically. Well, what I was trying to say, the point I was trying to make is this is a question that's going to be answered over the course of the playoffs. To go shot by shot, possession by possession, quarter by quarter, game by game is ridiculous. Let's let it play out. Let's let the playoffs play out, and let's come back and see where we stand at the end of the playoffs. And the other thing I was trying to make is, I think what makes it so volatile is both sides don't agree that the other side has a valid point. The pro Ben Simmons crowd will say, 0 for 6 from the foul line, no big deal. He did these other things. And the anti-Ben Simmons crowd will say, but he doesn't shoot, or he's 0 for 6 from the foul line and 15 rebounds, 15 assists. Who cares? Both sides kind of have to realize that each side has valid points, basically.
Right. And it's like, Paul Hudrick wrote a piece for our website, and he said he wasn't better. He was just different. That's the thing that I thought was most compelling is he can be good in both games and different in both games, but some people just like when he scores, right? You got that crowd that if you don't score, you didn't have a good game. And you have the other side, the first game, he actually generated more points than he did in the second game. He generated 48 points in game one off the assist and his 6 points. In game two, he only generated 40 points. So by that number, he actually had a better game in game one, but because he scored more in game two, people think he had a better game. And Paul said it wasn't better, it was just different.
Well, with all due respect to Paul, but I would say to that, my eyes tell me that Ben Simmons was 100% better in game two than he was in game one. And that's
why do we think that? Is it because he's more aggressive and he scores more points?
Yes. I think put me down in the camp that I think you have to score in the NBA to be a truly great player. And when Simmons, forget about, I don't care about the 3-point shooting or even the elbow jumper shooting. What I want to see is a guy who is aggressive and getting to the basket and looking for his shot and his opportunity. And I think when he plays like that, he's a much better player. So, yes, put me down in the column of the guy. You got to score to be great.
Well, for him to be great. Well, what about the team to be great?
I think they're a better team when he plays the way he played Tuesday. In game two.
Right. In game one, you have Curry and Green score 26 points with 6 3-pointers. You have Harris score 37. I don't understand the people who have this mindset of why does it matter where the points come from?
Well, that's the Doc Rivers argument, right? That's what Doc said during a press conference. He said, how many points did we get in game one? We got 125. If Ben got all 125, would we be mad at Joel because he didn't score? Probably, right. Yes. I mean, I just think for his role on the team, how much he has the basketball in a sense. And again, when I point to game one, what I see more than anything is I see the 0 for 6 from the foul line and the 2 missed foul shots with 45 seconds left that if Westbrook doesn't have a brain cramp on the sidelines and step out of bounds, that could have been a real issue. So I think when Ben Simmons is aggressive, when he's scoring, the Sixers are at their best, and that's what he has to do for them to win. And I think when he doesn't do it, it's a glaring weakness in his game.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Here's my thing. I agree with that if the other guys aren't scoring. In other words, if Curry's not shooting well and Green's not shooting well, then Ben has to say, they're not shooting well tonight. I've got to do more. But if those guys are making their jumpers, why not let them shoot away? To me, that's fine. And if Harris is going to be on that, when he's scoring 37, I'll give him the ball gladly.
Well, you can make that point.
In the past, I was on the side of he needs to score more because they didn't have the roster configuration to pick up the slack. They now do.
Well, I think they're better when he's more aggressive. I don't want to put my eggs in the Seth Curry, Danny Green basket. The Tobias Harris, who should dominate this series and is scoring 30-something again. Again, when I come back to game one, I'm not so upset about the lack of shots. Do I think he could have shot the ball more? Yeah, he took 9 shots. I'll take 11, 12, 13 shots, 3 or 4 more opportunities. I come back to the 0 for 6 foul shots, which in a close game, it's a very real question whether he can have the ball in his hands in a close game. And Ben Simmons without the ball in the hands kind of eliminates one of his main strengths.
No, that's fair. And like, I think that is certainly going to be found out late in these games. Like, how are teams going to handle that? Are they going to foul him? They're going to put him at the line? Are you going to have to get him off the floor? You know, all of that. Now, him taking the ball aggressively to the basket like he did in game number, he didn't get to the line at all in game number 2. I almost asked the question yesterday, Mike, which is he went 0 for 6 in game 1, but he didn't go at all in game 2. I would almost rather that he got there 6 times and missed than not get there at all. That was boggles my mind. How does he not get to the line, period?
Yeah, I mean, he is a confounding player, especially when he was more aggressive, basically, in game 2. Look, I just think he needs to shoot the ball more and be a more offensive force, and I think it's something that is going to be answered over the long haul of the playoffs. You know, I go back to –
Is that just a personal preference on – where he stacks in the pantheon of good, great, elite, yada, yada? Or is that this team can't win or go where they want to go if he scores 6 points and gives out 15 assists?
I think it's both. I think if he has to be able to create shots for himself and his teammates in the close game, in the fourth quarter of a close game in a playoff game. He has to be able to have the ball in his hands with 3 minutes to go, to me, to truly be considered a great player and for the Sixers to win, basically. I mean, I gave you the stat last week. I used it again in the column. Last time we saw him in the playoffs, 2019, Toronto Raptors, 7-game series. He played 51 fourth quarter minutes. He took 6 shots. I think we can all agree that he's got to be more aggressive than go 4 for 6 in a 7-game series in the fourth quarter. Now, they lost that series on a last-second shot by Kawhi Leonard. So does he have to go from 6 to 50 shots? No. But if he goes from 6 to 15 and scores a couple more points, maybe they get one of those games.
You know what's odd? He scored 6 points in game 1. He scored 22 points in game 2. They scored more points as a team in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, hard to tell. I mean, again, that's what we say. You're not solving anything in this early series. I think what was apparent the other night was this is a number 1 seed versus a number 8 seed. Washington is overwhelmed. As long as they're playing Raul Neto, they've got no chance. So we're not going to make any judgments off this series. Basically,
what did Neto give you a bad quote when he was with the Sixers or something?
I don't know. I'm watching that game the other night. I turned to Tom Moore, who I know you've had on the show several times. And I just said, why is Raul Neto out there? How does this team think they can beat the Philadelphia 76ers? They're starting Raul Neto. They're having 6'2" guards.
Their only other option is to put the process poster child Ish Smith out there.
No, they've got no. I've never seen a basketball roster before where they have nobody. Like, I've seen basketball teams without 7-footers. I've never seen a basketball team that has no guys like 6'4" to 6'7". They got no guys like that. You know.
Exactly. I said earlier, like, because I think I had Mark Jackson on yesterday. He might have said it when I asked him about, because the whole thing with Simmons, that kind of was in game 1, they basically tried to put a sagging wall up there,
right.
Do, and Simmons can't get to the basket, so he just said, all right, shoot a 3.
Right.
Sixers were ill-equipped to shoot 3, so teams just let them shoot them. Right. Well, now you let Curry and Green shoot 3s, they're going to hit 45% of them. They can't do that. So in game 2, they sprint out on the guys, and Simmons said, you're going to go out and defend them. I'll just back this guy right to the basket, and he took his lunch money. The problem will be Washington doesn't have a player that can defend Simmons at all.
Right.
So I said I would put Gafford on him. I'd try that out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the question. As you go deeper in the playoffs, a team is not going to try to cover Ben Simmons with a 6'2" or 6'3" guard. They're going to have a 6'7", 6'8" wing guy that can try that. And then when you try to put that guy on him and you close out on the shooters, and it's not easy. Here's the other thing. Like, I guess you could say I'm in the Ben Simmons doubter category, but let me say this. He's an excellent player. He has great skills. He's shown the Sixers can be a dominant regular season team with him. My question is, with him, can they get to that next level, which is the Eastern Conference Finals or the championship? And I think to do that, he has to be able to create shots for himself and teammates in the fourth quarter of playoff games. And so far in his career, he hasn't done it. We will see.
You are right about that. And I would say I think one of the biggest things of this whole thing is who is Tobias Harris. If he's the guy that he's been all year and the guy that he was in game one, you probably can get away with Simmons not being as aggressive, because if you're getting 30 from Embiid and 30 from Harris and those guys are hitting threes, how much does Simmons really need to add?
I mean, that's a great point. And the other point I made in the column was, look, Doc Rivers knows this is coming, right? He knows at some point they're going to be in a close game in the playoffs. So if Simmons isn't going to be the guy creating shots and for himself and teammates, if you're going to stick Simmons in like the dunker spot down close to the basket and put the ball in somebody else's hands, is Doc Rivers going to scheme up a way for them to successfully score in the fourth quarter of playoff games so that they advance in the series? I'll take that too. Then you want to tell me, okay, this team doesn't need Ben Simmons to do it. But so far, Ben Simmons hasn't done it, and Brett Brown couldn't scheme a way for them to score in closing minutes of playoff games. So they, as a team and as Simmons, they haven't done it.
You're right. And if you've watched the way they've used him in the dunker spot this year, it's a little different because of Embiid's dominance. Teams are doubling him right away. Simmons guys double it Embiid. And then what happens is Simmons is standing there all by himself. Right. And what happens is the guy that's on Curry or Green in the corner, he's got to come down on Simmons. And then what happens? That guy's in the corner wide open. So they have figured out a way. And I think part of this is Embiid's greatness. Right. He has now matured to the point where you've got to double and triple team him. So a lot of this is the maturity of Embiid. The better use of Harris has, I think, negated the necessity for Simmons to score as much as they needed him to in the previous incarnations of these rosters.
And my take on that would be yes, but the ultimate test of that will be in the postseason when it matters against a really, really good team.
All right, well, let me ask you then, Mike. I've been asking my listeners, and right now, they are split exactly down the middle. I couldn't believe it. I mean, hundreds of texts come in right down the middle. Who's a better matchup, Bucks or Nets? If you're a Sixers, who is the better matchup?
Boy, that's a tough one. Again,
can you believe that amount of text came in and it is exactly split down the middle?
Right. I think both tough, but I would rather play Milwaukee. I'd rather play Milwaukee than Brooklyn. I want to stick clear. I think the big three is tough to stop in the closing minutes. You know, I'm on record as saying I think Brooklyn's going to win the Eastern Conference. I think Milwaukee with Giannis faces some of the same issues that the Sixers face with Simmons. There's questions about how much Giannis, because of his foul shooting, how much can he have the ball in his hands in the closing minutes? So I would rather play Milwaukee if I was the Sixers than the Brooklyn Nets. I just think those three guys are too tough.
I don't know that I have a definitive answer on that yet, but somebody brought it up to me. I think it was Mark Jackson yesterday that said the one thing is Giannis can be the guy that defends Simmons and gives him that, same size and foot speed, and that could neutralize because you know what Simmons tries to do is change the pace of the game. He wants the tempo of the game. All right, that's all the time we have for today. We're getting a lot of great feedback. I am anyway. I don't know about you. Like you and McGarry are great. All right, we're off on Monday, Mike, so I won't see you then.
Okay. All right, appreciate it.
Weekend, man.
You too. Happy Memorial Day. See you later.
Mike's column, check it out. It's Must Win at AC Press McGarry. He's got more on the Ben Simmons conversation. Good sparring with Mike. We do it Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays here on the Sports Bash. Got a couple text messages based on that conversation. Says, Mike, Rodman was a great player. He didn't score. Is he better than Simmons? They're similar. They both are. Well, I mean, Rodman just didn't have a lot of skill other than his hustle. I say skill, that's kind of, slighting him a little bit. He didn't have to score at all. He had a guy named Jordan on his team, and then another guy named Pippen. Susie Hunter, you're going to want to hear her coming up next. Hour 2, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Happy Hour Friday, Memorial Day weekend down the shore. You know, one of the things I used to do with my buddies when I was younger and I had more time in life, we used to go to a different ballpark every single summer. So I've hit a lot of ballparks up. You know, we used to go to a trip. We go to a different ballpark every summer, go there, you know, for a ball game, check out the city, do it all. Well, then my buddies decided that instead of just doing a ballpark, they wanted to do a college football game, a baseball game Friday, college football game Saturday, and an NFL game on Sunday. Well, I'm not really allowed to take off in the heart of football season, so I kind of got knocked off that trip. But somebody who was bringing that trip back, kind of, sort of, maybe, is Susie Hunter. Check out her website, thesusiehunter.com. She is going on an MLB road trip. And I saw this on Twitter. Basically, people were retweeting her left and right. She was dancing away at Citizens Bank Park at a recent game. Now that fans are back in the stands, it seemed that she was there. And now she's going to be going to all the different ballparks. Philly, she's been to Philly, the 2 New Yorks, and I believe Boston. So she's here to tell us more about her trip around the ballpark heaven. This is a trip that, man, I would love to be a part of here, Susie. How you doing?
Hey, Mike, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, this is great. You know, so tell us a little bit first. You're doing something with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America with this. You're going to be going to every single ballpark this summer. So you'll be from East Coast all the way. Are you like driving across the country doing this?
Oh, yeah, I am driving. It's going to be a lot. I've been, kind of trying to prepare myself for it, but I will be raising money for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. I absolutely love what they do. I've gotten to work with them so much, so I'm really excited. My goal is $30,000, a grand for every ballpark. Let's go.
All right. So people can go to thesusiehunter.com and you can, there's a link to donate and you can check out what she's doing. So how did this come up? Like, how did you kind of get tabbed to do this? Did you come up with this yourself? Or you're like, hey, I want to do every single ballpark. Like, kind of take us through how this all came about, because I used to do the whole ballpark trip. I've been to probably, I don't want to say half, but about 40% of the ballparks. We used to just do it. Hey, let's go to a different ballpark this year. And we'd have a vote. All right, everybody had a vote. Where do you want to go next year? We want to go here, there. All right, this was the one that won, and that's where we end up going. So how did this kind of come about?
It's something I've always wanted to do. I'm a huge baseball fan. I love to travel, and I've always wanted to just do it all in one season. And I left my TV reporting job. I wanted a little break. I don't know if you saw what it's like to be a reporter during the pandemic, but it's a little intense. I wanted a little time. So I thought it would be a great chance to have a summer to do this ever again. So I just had to try it.
So where did you start? Where was the first ballpark that you hit?
Had to be Philly because I was home. So I went to a Phillies game. It was Zach Wheeler's complete game, was my first MLB game in more than 500 days. So it was so great to be back. And then I went up to Boston, and then I was just in New York the past few days. So that in itself was wild because yesterday was a double header with the Mets and Yankees. It was pretty intense.
So, all right, let's start with the Philly. So most people in our listening audience have been to a Phillies game, but what is your, favorite part about that particular ballpark?
It feels like home more than anything. I've spent a lot of time at, different stadiums, so that just feels very much like home. The food's great too. I love a park with good food. I always get my Federal Donuts chicken sandwich. I just love it.
Right. Now, in your
like
at the Susie Hunter on Twitter, it says reporter, ballpark food expert is one of the things that you are. Is that self-noted, or have you been tabbed as a ballpark food expert?
I am so an expert. My best friend Amanda and I actually do a food blog where we rate stadium food. So we do that here and there. Amanda actually has a job, so we're not going to do that all summer, but we're going to do a couple of those over the course of the summer. But yeah, we we rate food. I like to think that we were an authority on the topic.
Now, all right, take us to Boston now. So, because I told you off the air, I have been to a bunch of ballparks. I have never been to Fenway Park. I went in 1994 and they were on strike. Now I was like 12 years old at the time, but they're on strike that year. So I never actually ended up going to a game at Fenway Park. So give us the lowdown for the people out there who have never been to Fenway, the uniqueness, and what did you like about that park the most?
Oh my gosh. So I actually used to work at a Fenway sports bar for 3 baseball seasons. So I've spent a lot of time at Fenway, and the history and just the feel of that is not something you're going to see anywhere else. It is so much smaller than, the parks that we're used to across the rest of baseball. But it's so special. There's so much history. For me, it's very personal too, because my grandfather grew up right outside of Boston, grew up a Red Sox fan. He was the biggest baseball influence in my life. So it's very sentimental for me too, to just be able to be at a park that he was at when he was a kid. And that's so rare. And yeah, Boston fans are also just nuts. So that's entertaining in general.
What is the, the ballpark fare at Fenway Park that you've got to get?
They don't have all the food that they normally have right now because the pandemic, it's in limited capacity. So I kind of had trouble finding the food that I wanted to eat there, but I've had lobster poutine there in the past. That was really good.
All right. So what now? You said you went to 2 doubleheaders, or they played a doubleheader?
Yeah. No, there were 2 doubleheaders. So this hasn't happened in New York for more than 10 years. But the Mets game got rained out on Wednesday, so it was the Yankees game. I needed to get to a Yankees game for my checklist. So I started off with the Mets, though, because I was like, oh, I've got the time. So, yeah, I went to a Mets game. That was a doubleheader, and then made it in time to catch a little bit of both Yankees games yesterday. It's something I probably will never be able to accomplish again.
So which one did you go to first?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Which one did you go to first, the Mets or the Yankees?
Mets.
So you
Mets first, because Mets started earlier, so I had to go to Mets first.
So you sat through both of the Mets games.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
So that's at Citi Field, another stadium that I have not been to. Now, I have heard that it's just kind of meh there. What did you think?
Oh, no. Citi Field's actually awesome. There was it actually is, it's beautiful. It's got a lot of personality. Yeah, it's full of Mets fans, but there's a lot of great food. It's, I love it. I highly recommend it. I don't know who told you that it's meh. It's very far from meh.
Now, I was at Shea Stadium. So when we did the whole New York thing, we went to Shea, which obviously is not there anymore. So I have not been to Citi, but I didn't seem all that excited about it. You're telling me I should go check that out then.
You absolutely have to. I think you'll love it.
All right. So then you watch 2 games at Citi, and then what do you do? Subway? And I guess I don't know what the subway situation is right now with the whole pandemic. So how'd you get from Citi over to Yankee?
Subways are up and running. They're up and running, but just because of the time crunch, we Ubered, which was just horrendous anyway. Traffic options, but yeah, just Uber over and then made it to Yankee Stadium. Some Benihana. That was the food that I ate. A little hibachi at the game. It was fun.
So. All right, so the new Yankee Stadium I've been there one time. That place is like this. It's almost like walking around a shopping mall. The place is gigantic. They got a sushi counter over there. I mean, that place is pretty. Now, were you at have you ever been to Old Yankee?
I never went to Old Yankee Stadium. No, never made it.
Yeah, well, I think if you talk to the New Yorkers, the new one just doesn't compare to the that feel. It's kind of like when you go into Wrigley. Not Wrigley, Fenway. I'm imagining. So you go to Yankee. So there are the 4 that you've been to so far: Boston, New York, New York. Now, are they the only 4 that you've ever been to? Period, or you've been to other ones and you're just adding them to the list to do again?
I've been to other ballparks, but I just really wanted to. Yeah, I've just been to 4 this season so far. So
right.
It's fun. Every stadium that I'm going to this year, I'm buying a ball and writing the date on it and the number ballpark this is for me this season. It's cute.
Now, the video of you dancing at the Phillies game, did you know you were on video, or did you just happen to be on television?
I had no idea. So I will dance to everyone's walk-up song. I was just vibing. I was having fun. I was there with my family. And then all of a sudden I started getting texts and they were like, Susie, I just saw you on TV. And I was like, I was really trying to get on the big screen at some point. It never happened. But I'm like, okay, this is actually my first time making it on a Phillies broadcast. And kind of a huge deal for me.
Yeah, it was that thing was everywhere. And then I started reading more about this. And then I saw that you're doing this trip around and vlogging the whole thing, raising money for the Boys and Girls Club. And I said, well, it's for a good cause. We should talk to her. So where are you headed next? Kind of give us the roadmap for Susie this summer.
Oh, it's quite a map. So actually, I'm on my way to DC right now, but I the weather does not look like it'll be in my favor. So if that is I'm going to have to come back to DC at some point. I do have a little bit of wiggle room, but DC, Baltimore next week. I'm going to go to Buffalo for the Blue Jays. I'm going to count that as.
Now, hold on a second with that one.
Yeah.
Did you think about catching them when they were in Dunedin and instead?
I couldn't make it down there because I had too many weddings to go to this month. So I wanted to go to Dunedin actually, but I couldn't swing it. We have all these weddings this year.
Gotcha.
All
It's
the
wedding
weddings from
season.
last year or this year.
I got you. Because Dunedin's a great town to go. If you're going to check them out. So then you're going to Buffalo, then where?
And then Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's a great ballpark.
And I've actually never been there either, which I just hear great things about it. So
it is tremendous.
I'm definitely most excited.
When they first opened, they had an Outback in the outfield. That was the name. It was called Outback in the outfield. It was the Outback Steakhouse. It was in left field right out there. They don't have that anymore. I don't know what's in the spot there, but that ballpark is tremendous.
All right, well, I'll let you know what's out there, okay?
I want all the details of the new I guess it's still PNC Park. All right, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, then...
All right, and then I'm heading south. I'm going to Atlanta, then I'm doing Miami and Tampa, and then I have to go to Houston, then Arlington, and then I'm going to make it to Denver before the All-Star game.
All right, nice. Now, I was it's so weird because Texas used to play at wherever, and then they moved into the ballpark at Arlington. They're already out of that place.
Yeah, they have a brand new park.
Right. When I went, that one was new, and that was probably 10 years ago. And that place only lasted about 10, 15 years before they already built a new place. So that place is pretty cool, though. Arlington's a nice little town. You'll have fun there.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it.
And then, so you're at Denver. Now, are you going back to the Midwest, like Cleveland, up that way?
Yep. So yeah, after the All-Star break, I will head to Minnesota. The way I have to do the Midwest, the way the schedule's worked out is like not a nice clear line. Like you would want to do Minnesota, then Detroit, and that there's an order of things that you would like to go in, and it does not work. I have to zigzag all across, and I have to go to Chicago twice because the White Sox and the Cubs aren't in town at the same time when I'm going to be over there. They're only in town at the same time, I think, once.
Go to the Cubby Bear. Do yourself a favor. Go to the Cubby Bear.
The Cubby Bear. Okay.
There you go.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, Cubby Bear. Well, it's literally Wrigley Field, the front entrance across the street, like on the corner, is the Cubby Bear. You could walk right off the corner and right into the ballpark. Boom. And I'll tell you, Cellular One, I don't know if it's still called that anymore. I doubt it. But the White Sox place, very underrated. It doesn't get enough acclaim because it was built before all these newer looking old, the ones that kind of look like, they're old. But it's a pretty cool stadium. So I don't know what it's called anymore, but the White Sox place. And then Milwaukee, which I don't think you said you're going to yet, but Milwaukee was really cool. Milwaukee was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. See, these are the tips that I need. I need this advice.
Yes, that there. Where else so you went to Arlington? We went to a place in Arlington. Man, what was the name of that place? I can't remember, but Arlington's was a very cool town. So then you're going from Minnesota, which I was at for the Super Bowl, and then I guess you're heading out west.
As was I. Yeah, I've not been back to Minnesota since the greatest day of my life. So yeah, I'm going to do all the Midwest teams, and then I guess I will end up driving through Denver again. But then, after I'm leaving Kansas City, I will drive all the way to Seattle. It's like a 20-hour drive. I think it's insanely long. But then I'm going to go all the way down the West Coast.
Gotcha. Well, that sounds awesome. Check out her MLB road trip. TheSusieHunter.com, and there's a link there that you can donate for the Boys and Girls Club. She's vlogging the whole thing, and this is pretty cool. So we'll have to keep kind of following what you're doing. Maybe we'll check in with you somewhere out in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah, please do. And thank you so much for having me on. It was so great to talk to you.
Absolutely. Well, Susie, safe travels, and we'll be paying attention.
All right, thank you.
All right, Susie Hunter. Her website is TheSusieHunter.com. She's doing a Major League Baseball road trip for charity. She's raising money, and you can go to her website, TheSusieHunter.com. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, coming up, Paul Hudrick is here to talk a little Sixers, Wizards in the NBA playoffs. It's coming up next. All right, I want to ask Paul if he knows the results to the poll. Now, it has changed a little bit. Now, this was not a Twitter poll. This was our listeners out there. We asked them to text in 609-403-0973. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, Paul, but I just simply asked a simple question. Who would you rather play, the Bucks or the Nets? Where do you think that the listeners of this fine radio program went?
I would be shocked if it wasn't everyone wanted to play the Bucks. That would be my guess.
Can you believe that it was exactly 50-50? 50-50. I mean, are you watching the Bucks kick the crap out of the Bucks, the Heat last night, or what? And I don't remember. It might have been you. I don't want to give you the credit or anybody the credit if you didn't say it. It might have been Mark Jackson who was on yesterday. Keith Smith was on yesterday, who said the one problem, like right now, Ben Simmons is dictating really the pace of the game because they don't have the size to defend Ben. And somebody mentioned the one team that does is the Bucks. They could put Giannis on Ben, and Ben might have problems one-on-one against this guy who's the same size. Can the Nets do that? Would they put Durant on Simmons?
See, my bigger concern wouldn't necessarily be that. It would more be Tobias Harris. And when you're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, they have three pretty good options to guard him, and we saw that in the matchups this year, whether it's Drew Holiday, whether it's Chris Middleton, or whether it's Giannis. All three of those guys are going to present serious issues for Tobias Harris because that's what's happening in this series. Not only is it Ben, but it's Tobias who, Rui Hachimura, I think he's a nice player. I think he's got a good future, but he's not physically strong enough to hang with the Tobias Harris right now. And I think, yes, Ben, but also Tobias. Yeah, I mean, from a defensive standpoint, Milwaukee definitely gives them the most trouble. And I give credit to the audience, man, because I think both of those teams are really tough to beat. And I think you can make an argument either way for not wanting to play either. I think kind of what we're talking about here, it's if you're looking at it from a defensive matchup, I don't
yearn to play either if I don't have to.
Well, of course, of course. But you got to play somebody if you want to win the whole thing, right? But yeah, if you're looking at it from a defensive matchup standpoint, the Bucks they match up extremely well with the Sixers. Even with listen, no one can stop Joel Embiid, but Brook Lopez is a solid big man to have, and then they're very good as a team defense to scheme up and double team and do all that. So that's a concern, and plus the other things I mentioned. But if you're looking at it against the Nets, that's obviously a nightmare offensive matchup when you have to go up against those three players. So I think both of those teams present kind of nightmare scenarios, but this is what, that's the way it goes. If you want to make it to the NBA Finals, you're going to have to play really good teams. So yeah, neither one's going to be a picnic. And I think the audience, I think that makes sense. It should be 50-50 because I can say, like I said, I can make solid arguments for both teams giving the Sixers a lot of trouble.
If you're Washington, you mentioned Hachimura. Would you try Gafford on Simmons? He's an athlete. He's an energizer guy. Would you say, look, see if you can stay in front of him and use your height?
No, I just because then the problem is you got to play two centers, and if you're playing, you can't play Gafford as a small forward because then that's just your offense is gonna take a huge hit if you do that. And not only are you having trouble stopping the Sixers, it's not like they're exactly lighting the Sixers up outside of Bradley Beal, and you're gonna hurt your offense if you do that. I think in general, Daniel Gafford, I saw there was some stuff come out that maybe he's not, he's battled some injuries and maybe he's not 100% conditioning wise. And that's why he's not getting as many minutes. But that's a guy that if I'm Scott Brooks, I'm trying to play him as much as I can because I think he gives you a little something, at least offensively with his ability to roll to the rim and catch lobs. But yeah, I don't know that there's just no good solution, I think, for the Wizards because I think the reason why Scott Brooks is going with that small guard lineup is that's the lineup that got them there. That's the lineup when they have played their best basketball. So when you're going to someone else, yes, you might increase the size, but you're hurting your lineup as a whole because you're not putting your best players out there. I don't know. it's not a great solution, but maybe even like Bertans might be a little bit better because at least he's tall. He's not very good defensively, and he can hit an open three, which might help Russell Westbrook maybe stretch the floor a little bit. So I don't know where you go. I really don't. I just think, there's a reason why this is a 1-8 series, and the Sixers just have the better personnel, and their size differential is right now. That's the biggest thing that's killing the Wizards.
Paul Hudrick, 97.3 ESPN.com. What do we know about Curry for tomorrow?
So Doc Rivers said he did not practice today, but that he does expect him to play as of now. Same with Tobias Harris did practice today, but he also left that game, if you recall, with an ankle injury too. But he expects him to be good to go as well. Clearly, Curry's a little bit more serious because he did not practice at all. But Doc sounded optimistic that both guys are going to play. I mean, this is the playoffs, so it is considered soreness. They're not calling it a sprain or anything like that. They are just calling it soreness. So we'll see going forward. We'll see how he looks. But as of now, it seems to be some optimism that he will be available for Game 3.
And if he's limited or not the same or doesn't play at all, what's the plan B? Do they go George Hill? Do you get Milton? Is Maxey in the lineup? I mean, that's an interesting one because one of the keys to a lot of this is the space that is provided because of Curry.
Right. I just think you see a whole lot more of George Hill. Clearly, that's the guy that Doc Rivers trusts. Out of all of his bench guys, George has played the most, and for good reason. So yeah, and I think he just slots in nicely. He's not the shooter Curry is, but he still is a pretty darn good one. And if anything, I mean, you could make an argument. I'm not saying this is definitely the case because they just haven't. Seth Curry clearly has the chemistry with these guys, and he's played with these guys all year. But you can make an argument that they are a more complete lineup, a 5-man lineup, when it's George Hill over Seth Curry, because George Hill could do a little bit more off the bounce and is clearly a better defender. So in a weird way,
Paul, that Hill led the NBA in shooting the three last year.
Right, but I hear you, and he's a very good shooter. I don't want to take anything away from him, but when you look at volume and you look at all, like Seth Curry is, he's a better shooter. And that's not taking anything away from George, because like I said, he is still very, very good, hovering around 40% for his career. So you're not losing much when you're putting him in instead of Curry, and you're gaining the ball handling and you're gaining the defense. So I don't think it would hurt the Sixers that much. I still would expect them to win the game, and I still would expect them to have all of the advantages they had before. To your other points, maybe this would mean more Tyrese Maxey because you'd have more Hill with the starters, or maybe Shake Milton does get another look and another opportunity to maybe step up and prove himself to Doc, because right now it's pretty clear that Maxey is earning those minutes above Milton.
Yeah, Paul Hudrick's with us tomorrow night, game number 3. You can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. The coverage begins at 7 p.m. Monday, Memorial Day. It is a 7 o'clock start. And we just got news today that if it goes to Game 5, Paul, that will be a full house, correct?
That is correct. 100% capacity if it goes to Game 5.
And that means if it goes to Game 5, 100%, or Game 1 of round number 2. So the rest of the way, Sixers home games are going to be sell-out crowds. You can bet on that. I mean, the city has lifted the restrictions. They will be sold out every single night, which obviously adds. I mean, you have been in the building with how many fans have been in there?
Roughly 11,000. I think it's been a little over 11,000.
And the atmosphere has been good.
It's been crazy. Well, it's funny because not only compare it to what we've been at all year long with, little to literally no fans, starting at the beginning of the season. And it's a world of difference. And I'm sure the players are feeling it. I mean, Joel Embiid, he's been a guy who's always admitted that he feeds off the crowd, and you see it. He loves every second of it. He eats it up. And even, a guy like Ben Simmons, I think, gets a little bit more charged up with the crowd, whether it's positive or negative. It makes a difference. You feel the energy in the building 100% from my perspective, and I'm sure the players do too. And that's not just the Sixers, but I'm sure the opponents. I'm sure the Wizards have been feeling it. You saw Bradley Beal kind of have some back and forth with fans already. We won't get into the whole Westbrook thing for that idiot who threw the popcorn, but in general, clearly opponents feel that pressure. Some thrive in it and some don't.
Yeah, I know that it's a big thing for the Sixers. They're one of the best home teams in basketball, and to now be back at full capacity, they're going to need that come round 2. And of course, in the Eastern Conference Finals, one of the things too that I wanted to ask you about Harris. Any lingering effects from that ankle? Did anybody ask him? Because he did come back into the game from Wednesday night. Any lingering effects from that? Did they keep him out of practice at all today?
No, like I said, he was participated in parts of practice, according to Doc Rivers. So, but he seemed to think that it was Kerry was definitely more on the like I don't want to say serious, but his was a little bit more serious than Tobias's. It seems like Tobias, there's no real worries, and he's going to play game 3, and we'll see if there's anything lingering. But yeah, we're not going to know until he steps out there, obviously.
All right, over at 97.3 ESPN.com, Paul Hudrick writes that Simmons' Game 2 performance wasn't better, it was just different. And it's something I've talked about a lot, is Game 1, he generated 48 points. In Game 2, now he played 9 less minutes, but even if he played the 9 minutes, he'd probably be right around 48 to 50. He generated about the same amount of points in both the games. So he wasn't better or worse in either game, as you wrote. He was just different.
Right. And it's just so funny, all the hand wringing over. And I see a lot of people say it. And some people that, quite frankly, I think are pretty smart. And to have this opinion, I think is weird, is they say, like, oh, well, Ben Simmons was so much better in game 2. He just needs to do that all the time. It's like, it's not that. It's a simple contrast of what the defense gave them. In game 1, Tobias Harris scored 37 points. You're telling me you wanted Tobias Harris to stop scoring so Ben Simmons could? And then Joel Embiid gets in foul trouble in the first half, but he comes in the second half and he ends up with 30. They scored 125 points. And it was because Ben Simmons had 15 assists. Like, he was doing his job in that regard. Game 2, credit to Ben Simmons and credit to Joel Embiid, who said to Ben Simmons, hey, they're going to play me differerly. You're going to need to be more aggressive. And that's exactly what he was in game 2. They knew that they weren't going to allow Joel Embiid to catch the ball in comfortable spots. They knew that Tobias Harris, they were going to be keying on him because he scored 37 points, because he kind of got to the basket at will. So they knew that there were going to be one-on-one opportunities for Ben Simmons, and he needed to take advantage of them. And he talked about it after the game. He said he would dribble up the court, and he could already tell that they were falling asleep on him, ready for him to make a pass, and he just blew by guys. There were at least 3 drives like that where he finished at the rim. So it's not a matter of, oh, he was so much better. No, he was just looking to score because that's what presented itself. It's just, it's not any more complicated than that, Mike. He's reading the game and seeing it and forming his game to what the team needs.
I can see it now. Sixers sweep Lakers. Simmons scores 2 in win. And people going nuts that he only scored 2 points in the game they win. Paul Hudrick has the Sixers covered. And, of course, you can listen to the Sixers and Wizards right here on 97.3 ESPN. The coverage at 7 o'clock, both Saturday night and Monday night for a sweep. If they can get that, we'll see. And, of course, both games in D.C. A Game 5, as we mentioned, here in Philly, would be a full-capacity crowd. And Paul Hudrick, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Follow him at Paul Hudrick for more on this Sixers-Wizards series. All right, Paul, have a great weekend, man.
You as well, Mike. Thanks, man.
Good to see him, as always, here on the Boardwalk Honda hotline, here on the Sports Bash. And go check out his piece on Ben Simmons, where he writes, he wasn't better. He was just different. This is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. When we come back, local product playing for the Carolina Panthers, Colin Thompson joins me next. Happy Hour Friday, Memorial Day weekend. We like to have a little fun on Happy Hour Friday, and of course, Memorial Day Friday. Boy, we got one of our favorites is here with us. He plays for the Carolina Panthers. He's a Temple Owl alum. He is a Sports Bash alum. You've heard him here on 97.3 ESPN. He is now a Cape May resident. He is a part of the Lower Cape May Caper Tigers offensive staff. It's Cullen Thompson back for Memorial Day weekend after hanging out. So you had OTAs down in Charlotte the last couple weeks, right?
Yep. First, Mike, thanks for having me on. It's great to be back and great to be back down in South Jersey. So, yeah, OTAs in Charlotte, Monday through Thursday. We are one of the teams that are 99% there. I would say about half the league is in and out of the building to some extent, but we're there. It's been great to be back on the grass, great to be back with the group of guys we have. We have a new team, 11 new draft picks, I think at least 10 new free agents. So it's been fun to get down there and get to know a new group of guys.
Yeah, so obviously the summertime is coming here at the Jersey Shore. We'll get into that, but give us a little insight. Season 1 in the books. We had you on after you caught your first touchdown pass, and now you're a grizzled veteran here. You kind of have, the OTAs. You'll have training camp coming up, but give us a little insight on what now having a contract, now knowing that you have a home. What is that off season like, and how it's a little different?
That's a great question, Mike. So I treat it just as like I'm a first-year player in the NFL, again, trying to make it team. So it's like I don't have a spot, and I technically don't have a spot unless I have some guaranteed money or I'm a high draft pick. You're really not slotted to make the team. So, I did an autopsy, and as we did it as a team as well, and you get some great feedback, and that's what Coach Rule is best at, in my opinion. You're going to know where you stand, what you need to improve on, and what you do well. So for me, I just did a little autopsy of what I did last offseason, how I prepared, what are some of the good things I did, what are some of the things I need to improve on, how did it translate to the field in season, what times in the season I didn't feel strong enough, or I was putting too much weight on, or I lost weight throughout the year. So I kind of take a big picture approach, and I dive into it, and then I plan different things. So I trained a little bit differently this offseason than I have in the past. I tried to get a little heavier and get stronger, and then I'll lean down as the season gets a little closer. Or before, I would be leaner and then try to gain the weight as I go. So I swim, I bike, I lift, I run, I keep it fun. I don't overthink it, and I just get after it. And that's something, I know it sounds cheesy, but it's what I've been doing this year, and it's worked for me in the past. So OTAs are good. We're about 4 or 5 hours in the building, 6 hours. I try to make it a full day for me, just like a normal day in season, from 7 to about 5, 4 or 5. And then I roll out and go home and do some podcasting, do some LCMR football coaching.
Cullen Thompson's our guest from the Carolina Panthers. Now, you said you're running, you're biking, you're swimming, you're doing all this in Cape May leading up to it. Can people just see you kind of like taking a little run on the beach or the boardwalk down there?
Yeah, absolutely. They're like, who is this guy? This is like this goofball trying to hold it together. So actually I swim with, another 97.3 alum and Sports Bash alum. And then Dave Weinberg. I see Dave every once in a while at the pool. I see Dave around Cape May. But yeah, I'm here. I'm a Cape May resident, at least from the off season till when we report. And then I fly back a lot on the weekends too. We're getting married down here in late June. So doing some of that stuff and doing some family time. That's what the off season's for. So working during the week, flying home on Thursdays or Fridays, and then here through the weekend and fly back on Sunday. So it's been great. I'm enjoying it. It's great to be like with the team, like you said, Mike. Yeah. It's been the grind. You've been there for every step of the way. It seems like for me professionally.
It's funny because I see that Florida flag flying in the background, and as we're having this conversation, Tim Tebow is all over. He plays the same position as you do now, and he went to the same school that you went to for one season. He caught 2 touchdown passes today, one from Trevor Lawrence and one from Gardner Minshew. Who would ever thought? Tebow from Lawrence, Tebow from Minshew. So playing tight end and playing the same position, and of course going to the same school for a year. What do you think of all the Tebow hype and hysteria that has taken over the NFL?
Yeah, so I've had a few takes on this. You can check it out at Not For Long Media. That's my organized sit down, my notes, just like Mike does on a daily basis, and he can articulate it. But off the cuff, people are in an uproar about this. Not that he's not deserving or whatever that may be. That's besides the point. This is what happened. He went down to Jacksonville. He had a great workout. Urban Meyer was going to have to work out, and he signed him. Tim Tebow, I don't know if anybody's seen the pictures. He's in unreal shape. To those that say, well, there's guys that played tight end forever and Tim Tebow got a shot. Welcome to the NFL. This is business. This is big business. This is not, local football where there's, politics. And sure, you could say there's some politics involved with Tim there because of Urban. But if I'm Urban Meyer, I'm hiring the best brand guy I've ever had. First off, he won a Heisman. He's a very, very, very good athlete. One of the best college football players of all time. He played a lot of football in the NFL compared to most people, right? And he won some football games. He lost some games. You could say whatever about his career, but he's in shape for it. He hasn't been on the couch for the last 7 years. He's been trying professionally, and he made it to almost the highest level of baseball, which is very hard, as Mike knows, to get through the mess of double A, single A. Listen, you got to hit, you hit. There's no baseball. There's like a little bit of politics, but not really. Either hitting or you're not. So I'm a Tebow supporter. I think he's going to do great there. He's a third, fourth tight end. He's a Swiss Army knife. He may do some H-back stuff. He's going to have him emotional a lot. He's going to be a goal line quarterback. This is if he makes the team too. So I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, there'll be some people saying, I wish we hired Tim, because guess what? When he's on special teams this year and he's the personal protector right in front of the punter, they have to account for a fake. They have to, because Tim can throw. Tim can do so much. So he's going to make some people stay up at night because they're going to have to prepare for whatever the worst case scenario is. And the worst case with Tim is he's going to throw the ball. He's going to run. So I think as your fourth tight end, your third, fourth tight end, that's a great signing. It's an absolutely great signing. And I think he's going to help fill the seats. He's already selling jerseys. He's creating hype for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
He's going to teach some of these young guys how to handle things. So I think it's a win-win. The guy's in great shape. This isn't some guy who's just rolling off the couch.
Yeah, I look at it like, especially because of who the coach is. That to me makes the difference here. If this is some other team and they're just doing it as a ploy to sell jerseys and stuff, then you're a little bit more skeptical. The coach intimately knows who this guy is. You mentioned his baseball. For him, by the way, hit like 273 at Double A at one point. After not playing baseball, that's not easy to do. You can't just not play baseball and hit 273. A lot of people look at this as he only gets the shot because he's Tim Tebow. Yeah, because Tim Tebow has shown time and time again that he deserves the shot. People look at it as he doesn't deserve the shot. He does deserve the shot because he's good enough to. He might not have been a good enough quarterback, which is debatable. I think Denver showed if you build a system around his strengths, he won under that system. It's that team.
Look what they're doing in Baltimore.
Right. Well, teams didn't want to acquiesce to his talents. They just said he can't do what we want him to do, which is fair. But at Denver said, we'll build a system around what he does well, and he won a playoff game. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there that wish they had a playoff win under their belts.
No question. That's a great point, Mike. Excuse me.
And by the way, I'm not like some Tebow backer. I'm not like, I love Tim Tebow.
Neither
I just
am I.
feel like this guy is that special type of athlete that, hey, guess what? If he's willing to do it, I'm going to give you the opportunity. And if you're another tight end on that team and you can't beat him out, what does that say about you?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think a couple players are now, anybody can come out of retirement. Listen, that's fair. Anybody can. If you're Tim Tebow, again, this is one of the greatest college football players of all time. This isn't like just some random all-conference player. This is a Heisman Trophy winner who, again, competes at the highest level, watches workout videos. The guy's on a different level. His commitment's at a different level. He's never had a sip of alcohol in his life, at least when I met him. And I met him in college, when I was in college. So this is a different type of commitment level this man has to making it. He's a man of faith. He lives in Jacksonville. He's going to fill the seats. So it's a win-win for me. He's going to help a coach instill a brand. They're trying to change the culture in Jacksonville to whatever Urban Meyer thinks it should be. It's an absolute no-brainer to bring Tim Tebow in. So I think Tim will do great. He's in phenomenal shape. I don't know if anybody's seen those pictures.
He does look like he's in some pretty good shape. And by the way, they said every pass that was thrown to him today, he did not have one drop. So
no, quarterbacks have the best hands. People don't realize that. Like Mark Sanchez had the best hands of anybody I've almost ever seen.
Well, the funny part is when Tebow first came out, people wanted him to play H-back or tight end, and he didn't want to. Now he's playing the position that people asked him to play, and they're saying that he shouldn't get the opportunity to play the position that people wanted him to play in the beginning. It's kind of ironic how this has all worked out. I, for one, I think it's a very intriguing thing. Jacksonville needs all the help they can get. That roster, you don't need to comment on that. But it'll be interesting to see if he ends up making the team. Hey, he might not even make the team. We'll see. But Colin Thompson's with us. So it's Memorial Day weekend. You are in Cape May. That's what we want to talk about. What are some of the people are driving down the shore right now? They're sitting in their cars. They're miserable in traffic. So if they're heading to Cape May, where are they stopping?
That's a great question, Mike. Well, so the beach won't be available a lot this weekend. So for those husbands in the car that want to have a good time, but their wives want to go shopping, the Washington Street Mall is the place to go. Check out my mom's stores. They're great, and that's unbiased. She got a new one there.
It's unbiased. My mom's stores stink. My mom's stores are terrible. Unbiasedly, they're great.
It's unbiased, man. Hey, listen, I could say just check out these stores and not tell you they're my mom's. At least I'm honest. But I'd be honest with you, they're some of the best stores in the mall. She's been in business for 30 years. There on the mall, you got Lace Silhouette Lingerie right across from Ugly Mug, which is a great place to grab a drink. The original Fudge Kitchen stores, they're all right there. And then Con Company, they got Yeti, Patagonia, Columbia, Vineyard Vines, all those fun summer brands. And then our new stores, Sunflowers, right next where the A&W root beer used to be. But there's great places to have drinks all up and down. You got Harry's, you have the Beach Shack, you have the Barefoot Bar that Mike and I have done shows from. The Seaview is where I go. That's like my local spot. Great Eagles Bar in South Jersey. Mayor's is a place I should suggest for dinner. That's like a sister place to the Lobster House right near there. So there's tons of places to go, but you'll find me a little bit at the CB this weekend, hanging out, watching some of the games, Premier League games. You got NHL playoffs.
Sixers tomorrow night.
Yep, Sixers.
Now, what are you into more?
What are you
into? You're a big hockey guy, so are you more into the NHL playoffs right now, or are you all Sixered up, or what?
No, I'm Sixered up. I've always been. We have a couple Wizards fans on the teams in Carolina, so I'm constantly sending them gifts of Embiid and all these fun things of Allen Iverson, which has been fun for me. But I'm a big hockey fan. I've always been. I played for 10 years. I love it. I wish I could play in the NHL. I got the Flyers flag behind me. So, yeah, I'm a big hockey fan. I love the NHL playoffs. They're the best in the world. The first round's incredible. The first round of the NBA playoffs isn't that great unless you're a Knicks fan who haven't been there forever and they're excited. Other than that, yeah, I'm a big hockey fan. I'm loving the NHL playoffs so far.
Well, it's the kickoff of the summer. Now, all right, so if I'm in Cape May, where am I getting a slice of pizza?
That's a great question.
What's the spot in Cape May? Because I don't know. I've been to Cape May a lot, but I don't know that there's like the spot.
There's not like pizza. There's not like you're going to go get a slice somewhere. I'll be honest with you. It's not like I'm going to go get a slice. I think that's the Boiler Room downstairs.
Good one.
The Boiler Room's got good brick ovens. But like if you're going like cheesesteaks and all, my favorite's the Seaview. The Seaview Inn right across from Wawa, and you come into town. First of all, it's a great bar and restaurant, and we know a lot of people that work there. They're great people, and I love their chicken cheesesteak, their cheesesteak. They have cheap little like bar pizza, which is really good. Great wings, best wings in South Jersey. They're voted almost every year. So, yeah, great question for pizza. No, I'm more of a chicken cheesesteak type of guy, especially here. But there's some good places, obviously, up on the boardwalks in Wildwood and Ocean City.
Boiler Room's a good spot there. That's a good pick by you. Blue Pig, I had a nice little breakfast there too. Nice spot, right?
Yeah, there's great stuff. There's great kitchen. There's tons of places to go for breakfast. The secret one, the Saltwater Cafe, is a good one. That's right near me here. I'm right when you come into town near the Lobster House area. So there's so many good places to go.
See, Memorial Day weekend, the Friday Memorial Day show. I'm always like, this is like the like the free shout out Friday that we do for all the people coming down. I like to try to tell them where all the local people like, boom, hit this spot. Make sure you go there. This is the place to go in this town. There's to go. But Cape May is not, I don't know that like the back of my hand. That's why I needed you today, man.
Yeah. So yeah, our local spots that we go to are the Seaview. Like I said, that's Mecca. That's home. And then you have the Barefoot Bar, which is right on the downtown, right on Beach Ave. The new one is Taco Caballito, which is the old Cabanas. Obviously, you have Carney's right there. You have the Beach Shack, the Rusty Nails, a great place to get drinks. Sea Salt, which is down towards Harry's, is awesome. But Harry's is great. They have a rooftop. It's going to be rainy this weekend, so the bars and all the shops will be packed, which is great for commerce down here. So, yeah. It's an awesome town, man. I love living here.
The mayors won't say this, but they'll tell you behind closed doors. Memorial Day weekend, they actually want it to rain.
Yeah, of course.
Well, actually, they want they don't want it to rain. They just want like murky weather where it's not beachy. So I got to go to all the stores. Washington Street will be packed without rain.
Yeah. I mean, for my mom, again, my mom's had business for 30 years. The cloudy days, man. The cloudy, perfect.
All right, man. Well, Colin Thompson, year 2 is on the way for the Carolina Panthers. The OTAs continue for them. He'll be now. It's interesting. You told me that you're flying back and forth, so you're going down there for a couple days doing OTAs. Then you're coming back here for the weekend, taking care of your wedding stuff, and getting ready for summer and all that kind of stuff. And then flying back to Carolina. So that's a lot of travel, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, I saw you, by the way.
For,
I saw you in a little mini airplane with where were you with the Cape May Brewery guys?
so that reminds me. That really should have been the first place. That's one of my favorite spots to really stop. I'll be honest with you. At the moment, it just slipped my mind. So
I know I've been trying.
Ryan,
I need them to make a Sports Bash brew, Cape May Brewing Sports Bash brew.
So Ryan and the gang at Cape May Brewing Company are unreal, and we're lucky to work with them at Not for Long Media, my podcast, and they do a fantastic job. They're celebrating 10 years. They have 10 different beers coming out to celebrate 10 years. They just kill it. And Ryan and I went down. They have a new beer called the Qualified Captain, which is a lager, a light lager. It's my favorite of their beers. I love their IPAs, but I can't have too many of them. Like that's right up your alley. So we flew from Cape May to Wilmington, Delaware on the Cape May Brew plane, and then met with the guy who works with the Qualified Captain, who's got this awesome beer again with Cape May Brewing Company. So it's so easy to access too. It's really right up the Parkway. It's just about 5-10 minutes outside of Cape May. So Cape May Brewing Company really for couples, kids, you have dogs. They got big open spaces. They just opened their inside bar too. They're back to normal. So yeah, Cape May Brewing Company is another great one down here that we love going to.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we have to try to get them to do that Sports Bash. I drink. All right. So I do the low cal, low carb IPA. I'm a keto beer. Boom. So they need to do a Cape May Brewing low cal, low carb IPA.
Yeah. And then you just, boom, you could sell the heck out of it on here.
That's right.
So
I've been trying to find one of these craft beer places to do the Sports Bash brew for me. So we got to talk to these guys, get it out there for me. All right.
It's almost like a Philly. You need a Philly sports brew, and then you can have it, sell it on game days, whatever. It could be great.
Well, I'm open to anything, but I've been saying for years, Sports Bash brew. It's a low cal, low carb IPA for all the people out there who like the IPA but want to keep their girlish figure like I am. All right. Colin Thompson from the Carolina Panthers. And, of course, he's out down there in Cape May. Now, are you going to be back calling plays this year for the Caper Tigers?
I won't. I'm going to be involved, but I'm going to be more of a consultant role. I watch the film, send some pointers. I do a bunch of offseason. I'm helping run the weight room and just a bunch of different things with the great staff and kids we have there. So just involved in all aspects of it, really. Offense, defense, special teams, the off season. And then when I go. And when I can be involved, obviously I'm very, very gracious. They listen to me and I'm able to give my time and get involved in the community down here, which is an awesome group of kids and people to be involved with. I'm loving it.
Well, it's good catching up, man. Enjoy the weekend and good luck with the OTAs and stay healthy, of course, with that. Obviously, health is a big thing in the NFL. And obviously, congratulations on the wedding coming up.
Thank you, brother. It's great to be on. I'm looking forward to being on again and enjoy your weekend as well.
All right. That's Colin Thompson from the Carolina Panthers, who, of course, lives down in Cape May. You've heard him on our station a lot in the past, and he's no longer doing stuff with us daily because he plays in the NFL. So good for him. Good to talk to him. Good to catch up. Sports Bash brought to you by Dorothy Gale Roofing. No place like your home. If you have a leak or need a new roof, call Dorothy Gale Roofing, 877-97-KEVIN, or visit them online at DorothyGaleRoofing.com. We got plenty more Sports Bash on this Memorial Day happy hour Friday weekend on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
You asked for it. You got it. Fast Track Checkout at either Matt Blatt Kia location. Buy it your way. Complete your purchase online or have us deliver it during the Trade Up to a Kia sales event at Matt Blatt Kia in Egg Harbor Township or Tom's River. 0 money down and 0% financing for up to 60 months on every 2021 Kia Soul, Sportage, or Forte. Plus, we need your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Get out of that old car you hate with 0 down payment and 0% APR financing available for up to 60 months. Try Fast Track Checkout. Purchase completely online and have us deliver right to your home or office. Only at Matt Blatt Kia, where you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1667 for 1,000 borrowed. Negative equity financed into new loan. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 7/6/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Tom's River.
Warm weekends are back, and the Home Depot is here to help make the most of your outdoor projects with #1 rated Olympic Elite Stain. Enhance the natural beauty of the wood on decks, fencing, furniture, and more with an anti-fading waterproof shield backed by a lifetime warranty. Your project can weather any weather, guaranteed. Upgrade to Olympic Elite, America's most trusted brand, at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
All right, Football at 4 powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Andrew DeCecco on a happy hour Friday, recapping the week of OTAs. A lot of news at the NovaCare Complex this week that we will take a look back on, get Andrew's thoughts on, as well of what's next for this team. As we talked yesterday with Adam Kaplan, Brandon Brooks. Brandon Brooks said two things yesterday that I thought really stood out. And I want to get Andrew's take on this because Jeff Mosher had said in the offseason, hey, the Eagles are would try to trade him. Brooks admitted yesterday that the team did, in fact, try to trade him. But what I thought, Andrew, stood out about what Brandon Brooks said yesterday was, I tore my Achilles before, and when I came back, I was the best player in the league, best guard in the league, period. So he sounds like he's highly confident that he will come back and be the same player that he was before this injury because he's already done it once before.
Yeah, the history's there. I mean, there's something to that. I mean, he works very diligently throughout the recovery process, and he's made some remarkable recoveries. So, I mean, he's still at the peak of his game, still very much in his prime, and one of the top guards in football when healthy. Yeah,
so when you hear that, and, obviously we've seen him, he's going to be 32 years old at the start of the season. We've talked a lot about the offensive line. They obviously drafted Lance Dickerson, and I'd like to also hear your opinion on how you think he might be used this year. But if they get the Brandon Brooks that they've had over his tenure in Philadelphia. And it's funny, I'm looking through these Pro Football Focus rankings, and there he is, Jason Kelce, number 5 on the list, still one of the best centers in football. And then you go over to the tackle rankings, and there he is, still top 10, Lane Johnson. The Brandon Brooks thing, I think, if he's the same player with Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks on that right side, and Jason Kelce back, you start to wonder what this offense can look like.
Yeah, there's no question about it. The 3 players that you mentioned still can play at an all-pro level if healthy, and they're going to be welcome additions to the offensive line, of course. And it really puts the Eagles in the conversation for having one of the top offensive lines in football. But the key is always health. Obviously, they haven't had the cleanest bill of health in recent years, so that's going to be the big question here. And now they actually have young depth that was actually forged by fire last year. So should they have to step in for a game or two, now they're ready. But I think there's just a lot of talent in the starting unit and also in the depth unit that they have this year they didn't quite have in the past years.
How do you envision? I know offensive linemen are tough to kind of, in OTAs. The skill guys, you see them running around, you see them doing things. We heard Rigger said, hey, I might be in the slot a little bit more this year. So you kind of get a feel of that. Offensive line's a little bit more difficult. But how do you see Landon Dickerson and what they might do with him at training camp?
Well, I think he'll be eased into training camp. There's certainly no rush. Obviously, you want to always keep the long-term picture in mind with him. I think he will be ready by the start of the season, if I had to guess. But I think if the Eagles had their way, he wouldn't see a single snap this year. Only if an Isaac Seumalo regressed, or if there was an injury at either guard position or center, I think he would be the first guy in there. But I think they want to save some mileage on him and not use him until they have to. And I think next year he's going to be ready to take over one of those spots, most likely center, when Jason Kelce retires.
So you envision Dickerson being, and I asked this because as I was looking at Brandon Brooks, who, comes out and says, hey, I was the best guard in the league, period, when I came back. They can get out of that contract because they obviously tried to trade him. He admitted that. So would he be there as a replacement for Kelce, or do they want to slip him in as a replacement for Brooks?
I think I have to think that the long-term plan is to put him in there for Jason Kelce, but it's a luxury knowing that he can play either guard spot as well.
Yeah,
I mean, there's also guys like Nate Herbig there that has center guard versatility. Jack Driscoll can play center guard or right tackle. So I mean, they have some options.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that Driscoll's a guy that they like, and he's kind of versatile. Do you look at Driscoll as more of a tackle or a guard?
I think long term he's going to be more of a guard.
And Herbig, does he play? Is he more of just an interior guard, or does he have any center in him?
I mean, let's not forget he was a center at Stanford.
Right.
So I think that the fact that he was able to sort of transition, become a decent guard, a decent starting guard when he was kind of thrown in there last season. I mean, he now has versatility. He cross-trained at both spots, but I think he has much more of a center background than he does guard.
All right, Andrew DeCecco, Football at 4, looking at Eagles OTAs. Yeah, if you look at Jason Kelce, by the way, the rankings came out from Pro Football Focus for the upcoming season, and he was number 5 on that list again. I mean, even though, did it feel like Kelce was as good this year as he's been in the past? I mean, he played this year with a knee injury, an elbow problem. I think he had an ankle problem at some point, and yet there he is. He's still one of the best guys in the league. But is Kelce still playing at the same level to you?
Yes, he is. He has plenty of juice left in the tank. And when you saw moments where many may have thought he was showing signs of regression, I mean, look to the left, look to the right of him, who was surrounding him last season, and he was responsible for kind of being the glue to keep that offensive line together. So I think all things considered, he definitely rose to the occasion and showed that he still has some mileage left.
All right. Everybody thinks that it will be Dillard against Mailata, right, at left tackle. Kind of handicap and break how you see that left tackle kind of playing out. I mean, do you have a favorite over the other? Do you think it's 50-50? Is there a guy that the team wants to win that job? How do you kind of see that one?
Well, I think Andre Dillard's going to get the first opportunity to win that spot. He only can play left tackle. He struggled at right when they threw him out there. I don't know that he can play guard at a very high level. So I think he's either left tackle or bust. But I think that he'll get every opportunity. But I think that Jordan Mailata is the far better player and showed more signs, more encouraging signs than we've ever seen from Andre Dillard since he's been in the NFL. And taking that into consideration from where Jordan Mailata came from and his lack of NFL experience, I think that speaks volumes to his development and his skill set. So, I mean, I think he's ultimately going to run away with that. Which then begs the question, what do you do with Andre Dillard should that scenario kind of transpire?
I was literally going to follow that because I don't know what you do with Dillard then. I mean, do you keep a guy on the team that literally plays he only plays one spot on the line? I think we found that out, right?
Yeah. And not very well. So I think that what could happen is that you're going to see teams, there's always a shortage of offensive line play in training camp especially. And I think you might see something in August where a team contacts the Eagles maybe, or the Eagles throw a feeler out there saying, hey, we have Andre Dillard here. We know you have an offensive line, you're struggling on the offensive line, you're a little light on numbers there. What can it take to, pry away maybe one of your corners or something like that? Yeah. And maybe you might see a player for player deal or something of that nature late in the summer.
Hey, what did you think about how Rieger, among others, but Rieger really glowingly talking about how the coaching staff puts a big focus on wide receivers? I mean, it sounded to me as Rieger was like, man, this is really refreshing that there's so much focus on what we're doing at practice. I don't know if he's saying the other staff did not, but he certainly made it seem like this staff had a much bigger focus on that position. Did you take it that way?
Yeah, and it's not really a surprise when you look at Kevin Patullo's background, Nick Sirianni's background, and Aaron Moorhead. You have three guys right there that are deeply rooted in that position, and Nick Sirianni has been everywhere he's went, he's developed pass catchers, right? So I think that you're starting to see that enthusiasm, these creative ideas, and the emphasis on details that maybe these players haven't seen over the last year or two. And you're just getting all these new ideas and different inputs. And I think you're starting to see a re-energized, a revitalized receiving core that's excited to kind of tackle whatever they throw at them and hopefully become better players. And it kind of, you start to see that transpire on the football field.
Yeah, there's no question that I would imagine, Andrew, that all eyes will be on Rieger and, of course, Devonta Smith. Like those two and the way that they are utilized, and I guess the development of this whole core. I mean, if they don't bring in another receiver, and this is just the group they have, this is a very young group of guys, but it almost is the most intriguing with the most upside as well because of the fact that you have 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick sitting here, and it's the ultimate, does this coaching staff get more out of this group than the previous one? If you were a betting man, would you think that this coaching staff is going to get more out of Rieger and the rest of this crew than the previous one did?
Well, it's kind of hard to get less production out of the talent that was there. So, I mean, I would have to say, if you're an Eagles fan or if you're Jeffrey Lurie, you hope so, because you've invested so much draft capital in revitalizing the position and restocking it and getting young guys in place to really take over that position for the next 8 to 10 years if all goes well. And there's just a lot of firepower there. On paper, you have different types of receivers with various skill sets that kind of complement each other. I mean, I personally think that Jalen Reagor is going to have a sort of a breakout year, which is, which many expected to see last year. But just based on how the coaching staff should be using him, he's got his second year in the NFL. Remember, everybody transitions to the NFL at different speeds. So I think that you're going to start to see the wheels turn for Jalen Reagor. You're going to have 3 different coaches in his ear, and I mean, I think that all the receivers that they have kind of complement each other. Now it's just taking to the coaching and, letting that materialize on the football field.
Yeah. And people forget, maybe they don't, or don't really care, is he did have the injury issues. And for whatever reason, it doesn't help Andrew, that you had Justin Jefferson. And then, of course, there's this whole conversation, well, they might move Rieger to have – they're not going to move him to the slot exclusively. He might play more in the slot and just kind of move around. And then people are like, well, you didn't take Jefferson because he was supposed to be only a slot guy. So Jefferson doing what he did, coupled with the injuries, certainly didn't help Rieger, and the people's thoughts of him. And quite frankly, that might never go away if Jefferson continues to be the type of player that we saw last year, which I don't have any reason to believe that he wouldn't. But it'll definitely be interesting to see if this staff just utilizes Rieger better. So would you say his lack of production came more of not being utilized correctly, or the injuries, or just, hey, he just needs a little bit more, just wasn't ready for the pro as fast as some others guys were?
Well, I think it's a little bit of a combination, because he's not the first young receiver that we've sort of seen go out there, look like he's swimming a little bit, right? I mean, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside has been on record saying that there's a lot of times where he'd go into the game not knowing what his role was going to be or what position he was going to be playing. So I think you have a lot of these young guys that were sort of like information overload. Obviously, some of these issues were Jalen's, because he wasn't running NFL caliber routes. He dropped some footballs. I think he struggled with the pressure of the Philadelphia fan base. So, I mean, all that is sort of part of the transition to the NFL. And I think now when you sort of turn the page, take what you've got, what you need to improve on and what you did well from your rookie season, get with your coaching staff, work on those different nuances and become an all-around better player, and just really block out the noise. I think that you're going to see a vastly different player. I just think it was a culmination of things last year that sort of prompted that lackluster rookie year.
I hope you're right about that, because I did like Rieger at TCU. I was a fan. Obviously, he wasn't of the group of guys that were drafted in that first round. He wasn't nearly as well known or heralded as well as the Ruggs and the Judys, and obviously Jefferson. They all played in the SEC. So when Rieger was the pick, it was a little bit of a head turner, and I kind of feel bad for the guy in a way that he gets hurt, and then Jefferson has this big year. It's kind of out of his control, but all eyes will be on him for a bounce-back season. All right, Andrew DeCecco is with us here, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. And, of course, the Eagles OTAs continue. They're continuing this week. And, obviously, another one of the things that I found to be interesting this week was the talk – what was this team is obviously not adding yet any corner at that spot over there, but the linebacker spot. So we know they're still weak there, but would you consider this team still weak at the linebacker position? That was a huge gaping problem. Eric Wilson spoke yesterday, said some interesting things. We had Adam on yesterday. He mentioned that Jordan Hicks could be a guy that they might be interested in if they can figure out a deal there. But do you look at the Eagles linebacking core and still say that's an area they need to add to?
Yeah, it went from bottom tier to sort of middle of the road. There's TJ Edwards is a limited player, but he can play it. He can competently give you snaps and produce. Alex Singleton had a breakout season when he was kind of thrust into the spotlight. Now we see if that was that a flash in the pan, or can he put it together? And this is sort of the player that he is. Can he be that player that he showed that he flashed last season? Eric Wilson is the most well-rounded, in my opinion, can do a lot more, can be a 3-down linebacker for this team. Then you have Sean Bradley, who's more so of a special teams player, doesn't run particularly well, doesn't cover a lot of ground. And Davion Taylor, who's still largely a project until we see otherwise. I mean, they have a collection of guys that, outside of Eric Wilson, they're complementary pieces. They're not necessarily 3-down linebackers.
Well, if Eric Wilson's your best linebacker, then you're probably, you said middle of the road. If Eric Wilson, now I like Wilson. I think he's in today's game, I think he is a solid, coverage guy. He had interceptions, he blitzes, so he's got kind of an all-around today's linebacker game. But if he's your best linebacker, I have no problem with them trying to find another guy to complement him.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an Eric Wilson and a Jordan Hicks and a Singleton as your top 3, and then you have different pieces you can sprinkle in, like a Davion Taylor here, maybe a Jernard Avery if he's able to stick as a pass-rushing outside linebacker. TJ Edwards on rundowns. I think you have guys you can sort of plug in, and it makes your defense all the more strong for it.
Yeah. All right. Football season feels like it's right around the corner with these OTAs here, and there's so much going on. We know June 1 is going to be a big day as well, as that day is going to be, there's going to be some more signings. You're going to have some more veteran names that are going to be out there. And I guess we can find out at that point whether the Eagles want to get back down, get in that road, and Andrew, of finding, would you imagine that they are waiting to see who is available at that defensive back spot?
I mean, yeah, you have to think. Just looking about who they have. I mean, Kavon Seymour, Devontae Maddox, Craig James, Meters, who they just added, Josiah Scott, who they just added, Graylin Arnold. I mean, that's a motley crew of corners after Darius Slay. I think they need to find a way to bolster that somehow, because that second cornerback spot is going to get picked on relentlessly otherwise. And, I think the Eagles will investigate that after June 1st. And then I also mentioned there's also Zach Ertz that's on the roster. There's also Andre Dillard. We still have to wait and see what happens there. So I wouldn't rule out. I mean, I certainly think it's a strong possibility that they add to that position, and they really have to, because it's a bottom tier cornerback group right now. It's simple as that.
At A DeCecco NFL, and of course, football at 4 all season long here on the Sports Bash, all summer long, we should say. The NFL never takes a day off. Neither does football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, which dropped Thursday at 6 a.m. The latest edition is out. Check that out with Adam and Jeff, and of course, right here on the Football at 4, every day, 4 o'clock here on the Sports Bash. All right, Andrew, Happy Hour Friday. What's in your hand?
I'm just going with the tried and true Bud Light Platinum.
Wow, a little tried and true. I like that on Memorial Day weekend. Why not? Old Faithful, Bud Light Platinum. Faithful. There he goes. Andrew, appreciate the time as always, pal. We will catch up next week.
Have a good Memorial Day weekend, Mike.
You do the same. There's Andrew DeCecco. Good conversation. The Eagles OTAs continue, and go check out the piece over at 973ESPN.com. Jason Kelce ranked top 5 center again. By the way, where did Brandon Graham land on the list of PFF edge rushers? Find out at 973ESPN.com.
The NBA playoffs continue.
Behind the back escape dribble, left side Durant, and he drops another triple.
Durant, Harden, and Kyrie lead the Brooklyn Nets into Boston for a critical Game 3 against Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, and the Celtics.
Left wing, it's good. Boston takes the lead. Jason Tatum on a 3.
The NBA playoffs, Game 3, tonight, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM. Coverage begins at 8 p.m.
Hello, Cape May County. This is County Commission Vice Director Len Desiderio. There is great news on the COVID front in Cape May County. For the first time since 2020, we recently had less than 200 active cases. Our hospital admissions were in the single digits for the first time in months. And now we are approaching a full 50% of our entire population with vaccine. This is all because of you, the great people of Cape May County. But it's not over yet. We need to get as many people vaccinated as soon as we can. Please go to capemaycountynj.gov to learn how to register and check back often to see if you can walk in for a vaccine. The people of Cape May County have pulled together like never before. We need to keep it going. This is County Commissioner Len Desiderio. Let's finish strong, safely together.
With double the seasoned beef and a large drink all for $5, Taco Bell's Grande Nachos truly deserves a Grande intro, perhaps with a Grande beat box. Said it's crunchy, cheesy, beat. Actually, that sounded better in my head. Go get the $5 Grande Nachos before they make a every exit. Nope. Only at Taco Bell. At limited participating locations for a limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Tax extra. Drinks excludes freezes. Double the seasoned beef as compared to the Nachos Bell Grande.
All right, Sports Bash, it's brought to you by Prop Swap, America's sports betting marketplace. Sell your sports bets and take your profit. Find out how at PropSwap.com. Download the Prop Swap app today. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app, which you can download. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can watch live video. Malik, I wanted to pop this up on the screen. Nobody's talking about Nick's shirts. He has had some good shirts. He had the Eagles shirt on, was it today or yesterday, that says, "No one likes us, we don't care," was the shirt that he had on either today or yesterday. Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's given the look, the energy from Sirianni is unmatched right now. He's doing a good job. He's winning the people over, as they would say, right?
Not concerned about Nick Sirianni.
In general? You mean?
In general, not concerned.
All right, it's time for Do You Remember? These are things that happened on this day. Now, it's the weekend edition, the Memorial Day edition. So we got 4 days here.
A lot of ground to cover.
A lot of stuff here. All right, on this day, May 28th, after going 0 for 12, Willie Mays hit his first Major League home run on this day in 1951.
So if he would have done that in today's game, we would have said that he sucked for about the first 12 at-bats, and then we would have said he was the greatest of all time after the home run.
Facts. On this day, 1957, owners unanimously approved the move of the New York Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers to move to California. The following season, New York City dropped from 3 teams in MLB to only the Yankees. They remained the Big Apple's only team for 4 seasons until the Mets joined in 1962. The Dodgers and Giants championship fortunes have seen a reversal in the 60 years since both teams have headed west.
It's also interesting to note that both of those teams, they had very different runs when they finally got back to the postseason. They both had these serious dry spells, too. People forget that before the era with all those pitchers like Lincecum and Matt Cain and Madison Bumgarner, the Giants didn't win squat for a long time.
That's right. Well, the Dodgers, too, I mean, they won in the 80s. They had that one. Was that
88?
88. I was going to say they won that
First
one in
shot,
80, and then they didn't win one until last year.
Yeah. So, those two teams were powerhouses in New York, and then they moved. They were still good in the 60s, but then after that, things got a little.
You wonder if New York can add a third team. Remember, we were talking about places that have two teams.
I would be interested to see if that could work. It might. It's big enough,
All right. 1982, on this day, Rocky III released in the movie theaters. That is obviously the saga of Rocky Balboa up against Clubber Lang.
Some people believe that is the worst of the Rocky movies. I disagree. I think Rocky V is the worst.
I heard you and Dave Weinberg talking about boxing movies the other night
Yes.
and mentioning that. I think Rocky V is the one with Tommy Gunn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's not very good.
Yeah, that one was. Yeah.
I mean, 3's just okay. It's good. It's not terrible.
3's fine.
It's okay. Yeah.
You're not writing home about it, but if it turns up on TV and someone wants to watch it, you're not going to say no.
06, Barry Bonds passes Babe Ruth for second all-time home run with 715. The homer came in San Francisco off Young Kim. Remember him?
Oh, my goodness.
It takes Bond 186 more games to surpass Hank Aaron with his 756 homer on August the 7th.
Man, that guy was so bad in that postseason when the Diamondbacks finally won the World Series. He was so hit or miss. It was pathetic.
He was
an enigma.
Yeah, he was really tough when he first came over here.
When he first got here.
Yeah. All right, let's get a couple more here.
People figured him out.
These are still today.
Still today.
Yeah, May 28th.
28th.
Patrick Waugh officially retires from the NHL, 2003. We talked a little bit about him the other day.
We did.
One of the best. They don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah, that era where it was, these legendary goaltenders. You had about these guys who were the big name star goaltenders. Now most people don't even know who the heck the goaltenders are in the league. 2014,
Lance Stevenson infamously blows in LeBron James' ear in Game 5 of the conference finals. Indiana wins that game 93-90, but they would lose the series in 6.
Yeah, that was the beginning and end of Lance Stevenson's career, basically.
Yeah, he kind of went
fizzled out.
Yeah, he kind of bounced here and there, like teams that wanted to try to find LeBron stoppers.
Yeah, and then they realized it wasn't LeBron stopper. He was just a dude.
May 29th. Now, these are things that would have happened now tomorrow.
Saturday.
Roy Halladay throws the 20th perfect game in MLB history in a 1-0 win over the Marlins. Later this season, Halladay would throw another no-hitter in Game 1 of the National League Division Series. I was at that game. In addition to becoming the second pitcher to throw a postseason no-hitter, he's also just the 5th pitcher to throw multiple no-hitters in the same season.
He was incredible when he was on. When he was top of his game, there was almost nobody like him in baseball. Watching him go out there night in and night out was a treat.
Now, that is also, I believe, the same day Game 7 occurred against the Bruins. The Flyers, was it not the Bruins? Was it the Bruins or the
I thought it was the Bruins. I'll double check.
I thought they played, no. See, we were confused between the Bruins game and was it when they played Montreal in the conference finals? When they beat Montreal to go to the Stanley Cup. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was one of those two. If anybody out there remembers, it was Roy Halladay threw the perfect game the same day as this Flyers game happened.
I'm pulling up the Flyers postseason schedule right now.
All right, 1980, Larry Bird beats out Magic Johnson for NBA Rookie of the Year. That's when, the Rookie of the Year award, it was neck and neck. It meant something. Bird beats Magic. Now you have Malcolm Brogdon beating Joel Embiid.
So it was Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right.
Flyers, Blackhawks. That was May 29th.
That's why it did make the list. Flyers, Blackhawks, Game 1.
Yeah. Flyers lost 6-5.
So Larry Bird beats out Magic Johnson, 1980. All right. 1989, Mike Schmidt abruptly announces his retirement He had been having a subpar year by his standards, which prompted the decision. In a news conference, an emotional Schmidt said, I left Dayton, Ohio with 2 bad knees and a dream of becoming a baseball player. I thank God it came true. Schmitty, you like him on the broadcast?
I think he adds something, but I'm glad he's only on once a week because I think too much of him would, maybe be a little
I feel
bit
like when he
underwhelming.
plays, when he's on, it's almost like he didn't watch another game the whole week.
I think also, that's a good point. Also, I think the fact is that at some point, it just feels like, if they're not setting him up properly, he doesn't have much to say.
Because he doesn't watch a game the whole week. That's why. 93, Wayne Gretzky, NHL record, 8th career playoff hat trick. He added an assist to lead the Kings in a win in Toronto, Game 7. They advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals. There you go. That's Barry Melrose's crew with Wayne Gretzky. Remember when the Kings were good at hockey? Although they've won a couple Stanley Cups since.
Well, they were better recently, actually, than they were
They
with
didn't win a
Gretzky.
cup then, yeah.
Gretzky's teams, he was carrying that team.
93, Jose Canseco pitches the 8th inning of a 15-1 loss. He gives up 3 runs on 2 hits, and then he hurt his arm. The saga of Jose Canseco. May 30th, Babe Ruth. His career comes to an end after Game 1 of a doubleheader in Philadelphia. He quietly grounded out in his first at bat. He was lifted for Hal Lee, and he never played again.
Hey, man. You know what? You got to rub some dirt on it.
83, the Sixers sweep the Nets.
Hey, now.
I mean, the Lakers, I'm sorry. I guess we
say
should
the
end
Nets.
on that note. I got a lot more here, but I'm out of time. You were doing too much research, and then, I don't know. We got so much more here on the list. But Bob Wankel's coming up next.
Are you ready?
It is a happy hour Friday here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Oh, boy, Memorial Day weekend. We're finally here. It doesn't feel like it because the weather stinks, but we've got so much going on. On our happy hour Friday, Memorial Day weekend edition, we like to have a little fun, PT. It is a happy hour Friday with PT. The PT is here. And this was the reference the other night one Joel Embiid made. He said it was a bit. Now, do you know the reference that the music that is being played in the background, Peter?
I do not. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you too. Actually, for a long time, the tradition was that the weather is bad, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a
So
bad job that you don't know that music in the background.
it sounded like maybe wrestling music, perhaps.
It was the DX music.
And the DX is who?
What did Joel Embiid say the other night? His favorite wrestlers were Triple H and Shawn
He did. He did say that. I remember that. And then I forget, somebody quickly jumped on top of that and said, I think we know 3 people that are now going to have to ring the bell.
Yeah. It was Kevin Kincaid who wrote the top 100 people that need to ring the bell over at Crossing Broad. And now they're trying to get Triple H and Shawn Michaels to ring the bell for one of the next Sixer home games.
Sure, that'd be cool. I mean, look, make the big guy happy. You know what I mean? Croce,
well, apparently
was good.
Broke the news on the locker room last weekend or so that he was going to ring the bell, and then nobody gave Billy credit, to which he was all upset about. Right? He was just absolutely. He told me, he texted me, "I'm pissed."
And Croce did such a good job. He said he put a second crack in the bell. That's
right.
Enthusiastically, he hit it.
We now have Kincaid had a list of the bell ringers who should ring the bell, but somebody mentioned that Sam Hinkie needs to ring the bell, but you can only use Sam Hinkie once in Game 7 of the biggest.
Right.
You have to use it for the most perfect time, right?
Yeah, I think the roof would come down. I mean, JJ Daniel scored that goal in the Spectrum. They said it was the loudest the Spectrum would ever be. If Sam Hinkie walked out and nobody knew he was coming out, and of course he's got to have the Sam Hinkie uniform, which was wasn't always like
blue suit,
right? And he walked out with that ballot and he rang that bell. The place would go bananas.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
I think that's the thing is you can only use Hinkie to ring the bell one time. That's it. You can't roll him. It can't be like Kate Smith where you just keep rolling her out there.
Right.
It's got to be a one-time shot. But here's the question. Do you do it in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals or the closeout game of an Eastern Conference Finals? Or can you only do it in the last home game of the finals?
I think you save it for the finals, frankly. I mean,
Depending
I suppose if you got in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals and there was a chance you're not going to get to the finals, then you almost do have to roll them out at that point and say, we got to pull out all the bells and whistles. We got to pull out all the stops. We got to do whatever we can. But, yeah, I think you're right. You want to save them for the biggest stage, the biggest moment.
Well, it's funny, though, because there's probably people listening right now that were not fans of the process and think that Hinkie was an idiot and probably say, why would you want that guy to ring the bell?
Oh, I mean, look, I don't care whether you're a fan of the process or not. The kitsch moment, and if you were a fan, then you'll go bananas. And if you weren't a fan, then you go bananas because you can't believe they're letting them ring the bell, but still you have a reaction. It's the old, why do you listen? I want to see what's going to happen next. I want to hear what's going to happen next, right? I mean, it'd be just such a zeitgeist moment if he came. To my knowledge, Mike Gill, I don't think he's been back in the building since he wrote his manifesto there, right?
No, and he has not been. No, he has not.
Not only has he not been back in the building, he wasn't on anybody's radar. Remember when they had to go hunt him down a couple of years ago, and he was teaching a business course out in California, and they basically went and acted like they were going to audit the class, like they were a student, and that's how they got a hold of him.
Oh, he has not had anything to do with basketball, period, since he just left. He just kind of left and vanished. But the interesting part about this whole thing is, here's Hinkie, who did this whole thing, and here the Sixers are, and of course the main player on this team is Joel Embiid, and now Daryl Morey, who was Hinkie's basically boss in Houston, has taken over this team, and we were talking about this the other day, Pete, that this roster has been constructed by 5 different people.
That's true.
But the main guy is still Hinkie's guy. He drafted Embiid. I'm actually reading the book right now. I'm listening to it on Audible, actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
Built to Lose, the NBA's tanking era, how the NBA's tanking era changed the league forever. And there's a whole Joel Embiid chapter in here about that draft class and how the Sixers actually ended up with Joel Embiid because the other teams didn't want to draft him because he had the broken foot, and they both were under kind of the pressure that we have to win now. We can't wait for this guy. And Hinkie,
Right.
like, I don't care. I'll wait.
Yep, and he had no problem waiting, and Joel Embiid fell. Yeah, and that's the thing is, that a lot of times when you're drafting that high, the pressure on you from your fan base is to get better in a hurry and have somebody that can come in and contribute in a hurry. And it wasn't just Joel Embiid that didn't play right away. They had to wait. They ultimately had to wait for Ben Simmons too. So I mean that's the thing is, not only were you trusting the process and getting a guy, but you were also, you knew that guy wasn't going to play. And can you imagine if Devontae Smith couldn't play for the Eagles? Like the Eagles drafted him at that high, knowing that he couldn't play. That would be the parallel, right? Could you imagine if, I don't know, a Flyers top draft pick? Oh yeah, but he's got groin issues or something like that. A Phillies top draft pick, but he's coming off an ACL injury. Wait, what? None of that would fly.
Right, because they drafted Nerlens Noel the year before, and he didn't play at all. So he had not played for a full year. And then, if you remember in that draft, they also took Dario Saric, who was not coming over to play. So you drafted two guys in the same year with neither one of them able to step on the floor for you.
Yeah, it was definitely good old Tankadelphia back in those days.
Ah, man, don't you miss it a little bit?
Nah, not really. I mean, I'm happy finally that they're winning. I like to hear the song at the end of the games. Billy and I played it last Sunday. Billy was so excited that I called that up. It's on the YouTube page.
If anything that makes you feel like you're stuck in 1982 would be great.
Yeah, very much so. That first game when it was the two guys scoring over 30 points, my brother reminded me that we were at the Sixers-Cleveland series when Charles Barkley and Hersey Hawkins both combined to score 30 or more points in that Eastern playoff series. My brother and I were there. My dad had like a 10-game plan back in that year, and that gave us the first chance for playoff tickets. And so, he texted back to me. He says, "We were at that series, remember?" And I go, "Was that the E-Blow series?" He's like, "Yeah." Our seats were so close to the visiting bench that we would lean over and go, "E-Blow, E-Blow, you suck." But we didn't pour popcorn on anybody, ever.
Thank you.
Jesus, what a moron. I'm glad they got him. I'm glad they booted him out. I'm glad they got the Knicks guy. I'm glad they booted him out too. First of all, don't spit on anybody. What are you, a moron? I mean, it just drives me crazy. Listen, I love the Homer Simpson speech in the Dancing Homer episode, right? "This ticket gives me the privilege, no, the right to act as stupid." That's a great Homer Simpson speech, but it's not true, okay?
No,
the ticket doesn't give you a right to pour your popcorn on Russell Westbrook as he leaves.
No, it's not true. All right, Peter, it's a happy hour show. It's Memorial Day weekend, and one of the things we like to do on Memorial Day weekend is that we have all these people sitting in traffic. We have all these people out there that are like looking where to go, and we always like to kind of throw out a couple of places for the people that they must hit when they're down the Jersey Shore. So I know the PT's haunts are a little different than mine because you're an offshore guy. I'm more of an onshore guy.
Sure, but I mean, I still know all the onshore places. Somebody, literally, as I was just getting ready to come on with you and we were still in hold, somebody texted me from one of our frequent places in Margate and said, "First one of the summer." And I was like, "Hey, I'm about to be on the radio, but enjoy."
Yeah. So if you are telling the people out here, all right, you give them all right, these are the 5 spots that you have to make sure you visit while you're down the shore.
Well, and again, I mean, the weather may not cooperate, and are we going specific towns or?
This is good. The weather not being good is actually good for the places.
You know what? You know where I'll start off with a place that I actually want to check out, and I'm curious about if the weather's not cooperating. I wouldn't mind going over and looking at that Lucky Snake Arcade. You, me, a bunch of credits, competing on every game that's in there. I don't care that I'm 50 and you're close enough. We can relive our youth and go in and play a bunch of stuff.
What's your go-to arcade game?
Back in the day, I used to say this all the time. When I was like in high school and middle school, I used to play that Konami track and field. And then I found out that people were like using pencils or pens and using it like a fulcrum. And that's why the buttons were always broken.
Like Mike McGarry typing?
Yeah. You ever see Mike McGarry with that pen? It's weird.
Obviously, I just brought it up.
But he's effective. ugly but effective. Yeah, I was really good at track and field. I mean, I'm sure you always played the baseball games, right? Anytime I'm from the 80s, I'm a little older than you. Anytime I see Dragon's Lair, I always think of that game and how many quarters I pumped into that stupid thing just to keep going and save the princess.
I used to live at that Gillies arcade up on the boardwalk, man.
Didn't you, though?
Man.
I've never been great at skee ball. Are you good at skee ball?
I mean, I don't know that anybody's like great at it. You're just rolling the ball up.
Right. That's like a date thing. But I'm pretty good at air hockey. You know what I was really good at? The Czechs hockey, like the bubble hockey. In fact, I was so good at Czechs hockey as an adult, when I was in Omaha, I won a Czechs hockey tournament with a guy, and we won a Wayne Gretzky stick.
What, they had a whole tournament for this, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there was plenty of spirit.
That's one of those games where, I don't know, I feel like you could just like zip that thing and it just like bounces off the.
It's
like,
great, but the other problem is
like a certain skill at that you like know what to like. Tecmo Bowl when you used Mark Bavaro, he had like a little nobody could stop it. Do you have a play that that you can do that nobody stops?
I mean, I always enjoyed hitting the boo button when the national anthem's playing. If you rapid fire hit the boo button, then it doesn't play the whole national anthem. The puck comes out early. So I had a move where I
play the whole anthem. It starts with "Oh, say no,"
right, and then bam, you're whapping that boo button, and then the puck will come out, and then you shove the center in, and you maybe have a goal like 2 seconds in, and you've knocked that guy back on his heels.
People are just like jamming there's a place around here. It's like a place you get your hair cut, and they have a bubble hockey place in there as you're waiting.
I think
they're getting their hair cut, and I'm in there playing, and I'm like slamming this thing.
I think that there's an establishment in Marmora right before you get on the Parkway there. You know the one I'm talking about. I think that off 34th there. I think that's that has a bubble hockey one up in the front there. And the only catch on the bubble hockey is you gotta find one. How many times? And I think everybody out there will identify this. How many times have you played that bubble hockey and the guy with the longest stick can't get the puck? Because somebody jammed it, somebody got it caught in the corner, somebody bent the damn stick, and then literally the puck's in the corner, and you got the long stick guy, and it's just whiff, whiff, whiff. And what do? You pick the whole game up and tilt it so the puck comes back in. That's another PT cheating move. If the puck would be like right on the line and like the goalie couldn't bounce it out or whatever, I just picked that. I did that against Michael one time, my girlfriend's son, and the look at his face was totally worth cheating. I picked the whole game up on my end, and the puck dropped in, and he was like, "What the hell?" And I was like, "Goal for me. Can't take it back."
So it sounds like we have to actually make a stop at this place.
Yeah, sure. I would go to the Lucky Snake in a heartbeat. Absolutely. That's definitely on my list. Yeah, it's out in the old showboat there. They basically filled the casino floor with arcade games.
Right.
Okay.
So what I like to do for the people out there, right, is I like to kind of start all the way at the tip of the island and work my way down. And I always say to people, this is wherever you are, all right, wherever you're listening, you text us the place to be in that town. And this is where we'll say, hey, if you're in this town, go to this place. Because quite frankly, I don't know the main or places to go or tell people to go in every single spot in the area. I mean, we live in a pretty spread out wide spot. But I say, like, if I'm in, this place, I'll go here. If I'm in that town, these are the couple places that I would go. You know what I mean?
Very much so. And
so 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Where are your favorite places to kind of eat, drink, and be merry down the shore?
Yeah. Right? And again, in Atlantic City, there's plenty of places. The beer garden's a big hit. Everybody enjoys going
on the
there.
Boardwalk.
Yeah, that's if you're on the boardwalk. Obviously.
Yeah, look, now everything's opened back up again. Keep that in mind.
I couldn't be happier for that too. Everybody's able, and they took down, like, if you do want to throw a couple shekels down on a game there, you want to play a little roulette, or you want to play some cards or something like that. Do you know the last time I went into a casino, I was playing some blackjack, and I leaned forward and I hit my damn forehead on the plexiglass there. I was like the bird that flies into the
I heard they
window.
like everything's down now.
It's all down now, baby. It's all down.
If you're like down there, you go like Gardner's Basin area, you have like Back Bay.
Oh, so good.
That siren spot, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed that very much. I got that. Remember, I went there with you guys and got that mermaid in my drink. That was like, it was wonderful. That was a great atmosphere
there, right? And then, of course, if you're on the other end of town, you've got Wonder Bar back there. You got Vagabonds over there. Then you
also, awesome places.
Down to the Ventnor Market. Now, Ventnor has a new establishment over there. I haven't been there yet, though. The Santucci's place. I haven't been there, but I know that place has gotten some good play. And then over in Margate, of course, you got Robert's Place and Maynard's and Boca. Those are the places in Margate.
Winners. Did you say the Greenhouse too?
I did not say that. I forgot. That one is now. Last year they let the people go on the beach because of all the stuff. So I'm wondering if they're going to have that still outside. A lot of places built these outside areas because of the COVID restrictions last year. I'm wondering if they're going to bring those back.
Yeah, I mean, and then some places built, survive and adapt, right? Obviously I'm out in Galloway, and our friend Ari, built himself a nice place out there. So, and that wasn't just a temporary structure. He's got himself in Summers Point, the holy trinity of Summers Point, which is Anchorage, Charlie's, Gregory's, right? Gregory's has that. Have you ever been to the little Gregory's back bar? It's only about 15 people in the back there. Yep. That's a fun atmosphere that a lot of people don't know
Josie
about.
Kelly, they had a nice little outside.
Oh, yeah.
And they had like those, but I think they took that down.
All right. But Josie Kelly's is doing well. I'm happy for all those places. Look, I'm just happy.
Vagabond and EHT, by the way.
Yes, there is. And I've been there. I actually went there for a trivia night. In fact, that was probably my first alcoholic drink since my surgery. I had a couple Tito's and lemonades.
Pops, hey?
Yeah, they were really tasty.
Right. And then, you're traveling down. A lot of the people that are sitting in Parkway traffic.
Right. They're trying to go a little further down there.
Down to Cape May County. And that's the areas like we had Colin Thompson on, and he was telling us about a couple places to go down in Cape May. You've got all the Wildwood stuff. You've got all the Avalon, Sea Isle, Stone Harbor.
Yep.
As well. Strathmere has their little hangouts over there. What's that? The Deauville over there?
Yep, that is the Deauville. Yep. And Strathmere's that little slice of heaven. Free beaches in Strathmere too. I mean, that's another thing. It's hard to find free beaches, but the Wildwoods all have free beaches, whether it's Wildwood, Wildwood Crest, or North Wildwood. That's all free beaches. Atlantic City has free beaches, right? There's not a lot of places in this day and age where you don't have to have a beach tag. So if you do want to put a toe in the ocean, I wouldn't say maybe tonight or
if you want to buy a beach
tomorrow.
badge, just reach out to me. We've got you covered.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're lovely is making the beach badge memorabilia.
Yes, it is a nice item right now. That is certainly
every shore house has to have one. I'll fill in the gaps. Every shore house has to have one. We got to make this a cottage industry.
Yeah. So people are texting in some places that you must hit. And, it's Memorial Day weekend. We want to, the local businesses out there, you should make sure that you go out and hit all these businesses. So Kessel's Corner, Ocean City, get the chicken cheesesteak, but more importantly, the milkshake.
All right.
North Cape May has 5 West. And somebody texted that in to go to Mensa's Restaurant in Rio Grande. All right.
Okay.
Of course, the White House sub shop in Atlantic City. Now, if you're looking for the subs on the island, you got the White House Sacco.
That's another place, Gill. Are you going to take your lovely to? I know. The last one you saw was the People versus Larry Flint, but why don't you go over and check out the new Ventnor Theater then have dinner above the marquee? You can eat outside on top of the marquee.
I saw pictures of people there last week and heard it was fantastic.
Yep.
And now, do they have a bar in there?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
See, Ventnor didn't have a liquor license for a bar, but I guess they got one.
Yeah, they did. And that was actually a big hurdle, I think, among other things, to renovate that building and get it back up to code and speed and all that. But yeah,
so
good for them.
Nucky's Lounge or Nucky's Speakeasy or something?
Nucky's Speakeasy, I believe, is correct. Yes.
Yeah, we had a lot of speakeasies in West Virginia.
Did you?
Yes, we did. There was a lot of underground bars.
Have you been to the Knife and Fork where, like, when you lift up the seat that you're sitting on, that's where they used to hide the rum or whatever,
I've been to the Knife and Fork. I didn't lift up my seat, though.
And then this guy that I work with, this Tom, he was living in a house back there in the Back Bay area, and the house backed up, and the house used to be like back in the Prohibition days. It went all the way back to that. And it had like an underground dock, and that's how the boat used to come in and sneak the booze in. And there was a whole like pulley system and stuff. It was awesome.
Oyster Creek, somebody I've been there a bunch of times. Food's outstanding. Sugar
Mhm.
Hill Subs got another one for now. I've actually, over the years of doing this show, people have told me I need to go there, and I
You
have.
still haven't had a Sugar Hill
I
sub?
have a couple
Oh,
of
okay.
times.
Okay.
And you know what? Really. So I just found this out. You know, my guy Romeo DeBoner over there in Romeo DeBoner over in.
I'm sorry. What does he have? What's his name?
Over in Summers Point. Someone asked me where to get a cheesesteak in Summers Point. I said, Romeo DeBona's Italian American, and he's closed. He became the executive chef over American Cut, American whatever in the Ocean.
Oh, okay. Well, good for him to move
He's
up
no
the
longer.
executive chef
That was
role.
my go-to cheesesteak, but
Yeah.
that is very good. It's just a
I
little.
tried to have
far for me drive
breakfast
to.
this morning where you and I had breakfast that time out in Mays Landing. I was up early and I was SOL. I couldn't go to Johnny's over there.
Good Night Irene's in Wildwood. That's
Definitely. Yeah, that's a go-to.
All right, there's a lot here.
100%.
I don't have all the time, but I said if you get them in, I tried to fit in as couple as I can. We like to tell the visitors some places to make sure they hit as they down here. You know, there's a lot of places. There's a lot of great places. Make sure you get out there this summer. Last summer was tough on a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully we can, make up for that and some around here on this Memorial Day weekend here with the Sports Bash. All right, Peter.
Michael, have a good holiday weekend. And by the way, to everybody, remember why we're celebrating this weekend, too. You know, my cousin Mike Cassidy is buried in Arlington National Cemetery, and I was showing my kids today at school. You know, this isn't just the unofficial start of summer. This isn't just a 3-day holiday weekend. Let's remember all those who served.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. It's brought to you by Matt Blatt Kia. They want to get you approved today. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. I'm Mike Gill. Coming up, we'll talk a little NFL as Jeff Kerr joins us here on a Sports Bash Happy Hour Friday. All right, Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. We continue the conversation on the NFL. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, is here. The Sports Bash is powered by JCPenney. Celebrate Memorial Day with doorbuster deals at JCPenney on all summer essentials. Shop now through Monday only at JCPenney. Excuse me. Jeff Kerr, what's up, man? How you doing on this happy hour Friday edition?
Not so much of a happy hour for me, Mike. It's been pretty crazy today, I got to admit.
Busy day, busy NFL. Always is, as we told you. By the way, June 1st, that date will be coming up by the next time we are on the air. That June 1st date will have hit. So we'll have a lot next week with Jeff as well. But over at CBSSports.com, Jeff Kerr, you wrote about Darius Slay and Devonta Smith. And this is kind of an interesting story because Smith is walking right in, and him and Slay already seem to be helping each other out.
Yeah, and I thought it was pretty revealing what Darius Slay said the other day. I think Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports Philly asked him the question about Devonta Smith and, how he's looking. And he said, he's willing to give him tips. And he said Devonta Smith's helping him out. He's helping Devonta Smith out. And really the end game is both are getting each other better. And Darius Slay said, look, I've been in the league a long time. He has the most pass deflections in the NFL since he arrived in 2013. And we got to be honest here. Darius Slay is still a very good cornerback. He's got a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, and he's going to help out Devonta Smith. And I like what he said. Devonta Smith is asking him for tips. Greg Ward's asking him for tips, and he's willing to provide it. And he said both are doing the same thing to him. And, I think it's going to make Devonta Smith great, and it's going to keep Darius Slay among one of the game's best corners.
Why do we think that Slay slipped a little last year? Did he slip a little last year?
It might have been Jim Schwartz's defense. I don't want to think that. Maybe it was because they didn't have a number 2 cornerback there. Maybe it was his first year in a new system. I just feel like the Eagles kind of put him on an island in a lot of games because he played really well at the beginning of the season. And then all of a sudden, you put him against DK Metcalf. You put him against Devonta Adams, and you saw the result. You saw back-to-back poor performances there. And, Darius Slay, his name is Big Play Slay, but he didn't really have that many big plays last year. He only had 1 interception. I think it was the first year since his rookie year. He may not have had multiple interceptions in a season. The pass deflections were down. I think he only had 10 last year, compared to about 15 to 18 in previous years. So, yeah, it was overall a down year for Darius Slay. I don't necessarily feel it's going to replicate because he is only 30 years old. I don't think his performance is going to decline. I think he's willing to prove that he can play in a zone coverage scheme, and I think he's going to have a big year this year. I really do.
Right, because, Jeff, this is interesting. Like, when they got Slay last year, it wasn't like, hey, we got this easy trade offer that is a win for us. They got him because they felt they were close, right? I mean, that's the reason they went out and got Darius Slay. It's, hey, we need a number 1 corner on this team because that's what we're missing. So 1 year ago at this time, they felt they were a Super Bowl contender. And now all of a sudden, here we are where people are like, he's not the same player. It's funny how quickly things change in this league.
Yeah, it really is. And you know what upset me when they got Darius Slay? I've never been a fan of teams that do this. And I think the Phillies made me realize this 10 years ago. Why would you remember the Phillies traded Cliff Lee after they acquired Roy Halladay? It was like the Eagles with Malcolm Jenkins. Why would you get rid of Malcolm Jenkins when you just got Darius Slay? Wouldn't you rather have both of them? Like, I don't get it. Why would you make one position worse to make another one better? I never understood the logic in that move when they got rid of Malcolm Jenkins. Malcolm Jenkins was still an elite player last year with the New Orleans Saints. Has his game been declining? Yeah, it has been a little bit, but I'm not going to go out of my way to say that the Eagles didn't need him in their secondary last year because that's just simply not true.
Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, NFC East conversation and some NFC East stuff. I guess kind of by proxy is Carson Wentz, who addressed fixing some issues from last season. He talked about a lot of pressure. There's pressure following him. People are going to be paying attention. Is this guy cooked, or did he just need a change of scenery? So what are some revealing things from Carson Wentz this week?
Well, I like what he said, too. First I didn't know that, so thank you. He was clearly being sarcastic in that. He obviously knows what's going on. But look, with Carson Wentz, to me, it seems like he's a lot happier in Indianapolis. And, I don't want to say he got what he wanted, but he ultimately did. He got out of Philadelphia and he got to a place where I feel like it's basically in the Colts handbook. Look, we have to every day say what a great job Carson Wentz has done and, how positive the leader he is in the locker room, how talented he is. Maybe he didn't get that last year in Philadelphia. Maybe, they took the relationship for granted a little bit, and he got a little upset by that, especially with the Jalen Hurts stuff. But, I'm sure it is nice when guys like Darius Leonard, T.Y. Hilton, proven vets in this league, Naeem Hines, Jonathan Taylor, running backs across the board, Michael Pittman saying how great he is, this is the honeymoon phase of the Carson Wentz Colts marriage right now, and it's going really well. And look, I think Carson knows there's a lot of pressure attached to him this year. He knows he has to win. He knows this is his second and final shot to prove himself as an elite NFL quarterback, and he is with the coach that can get him there, and Frank Reich. So, yeah, he knows that. He's not – I don't want to say succumbing to it in any means. I just feel like it's not – oh, what you got to worry about Jalen Hurts for? Or, how's Jalen Hurts looking today? It's hey, look, I'm Carson Wentz, and, I'm the Colts quarterback, and I'm going to get every opportunity to succeed here. But really, the pressure is going to come when he has a bad game in September.
All right, let's go into the NFC East. Let's go to Washington. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he has bounced all over the league, but apparently switching teams isn't all that difficult for him.
No, not at all. When you've been to 9 teams in 17 years, it's not difficult. And he's used to this by now. He's used to a change of scenery. He's used to not being the guy. Like Miami, they brought him in to be a bridge player. They didn't bring him in to be a starting quarterback. He just happened to end up being a pretty good starting quarterback for them when they were tanking. And then he ended up being the ultimate backup when, like, he was in Tampa Bay. He took Tua's job away at times. He took Jameis Winston's job away at times. I think he embraces his role as being, getting better in his late 30s. And I feel like he really wants to be a veteran leader more than anything. And this is going to be uncharted territory for him. He has not been the sole starting quarterback of this franchise, since 2016 with the Jets. And I think that was when he was one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL after he had his career year in 2015. So it's going to be very interesting to see Ryan Fitzpatrick at 39, kind of take these reins as the unquestioned starting quarterback in Washington. They're giving him all the weapons to succeed. But I mean, he sounds the part. I mean, when you've been in the league 17 years, you kind of have to be, right?
You would think, and you're right. I mean, he seems to be the guy there, and they didn't draft a guy in the top part of that draft, whether they were picking like number 11 or wherever they were. No, they were a little further down than that, but they didn't take a quarterback like some people thought they might do to say, hey, let's get a guy ready. No, they're going with Fitzpatrick. Let me ask you, do you think they're a player for Julio Jones?
I don't think so, because I think they made all their additions this offseason. They got Curtis Samuel. I think he was their big free agent prize. They got Terry McLaurin. They got Amy Brown. I mean, they have receivers there. They don't necessarily need Julio Jones. I'm sure they'll be like the Eagles. They do their due diligence on it, but I don't see them becoming a player. Honestly, if there's any team in the NFC East that probably would take Julio Jones right now, I mean, really, they all should, but it's probably the Eagles, because I just can't see the Giants doing it, and he doesn't want to go to the Cowboys. And Washington, I'm sure that would put them over the top, but I think they got enough weapons there. I think they're good right now.
Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, covers the NFL. We go inside the NFL Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays here on the Sports Bash, and, I think another what about this Tua story? How bonkers is that he admitted essentially that he didn't know the playbook last year?
This is the same guy who said he didn't think like the NFL was going to be hard or this easy. now he doesn't know the playbook. I mean, come on, this is like quarterbacking 101. And I'll admit it. Tua owned up to it and said, look, it's my fault completely. I just didn't know it, but I'm vowing to fix it. And he still had a pretty good year, all things considered, with the Dolphins last year. I mean, really, he looked bad at times, but I feel like once this guy gets, I think Tua was a little more concerned about, is my hip okay? Can I move? Can I play football? I think
at K-12
was second on his agenda. Now I think it's, let's dive into the playbook. Let's not do a simple concept here. let's learn this complicated offense with this new offensive coordinator, or two offensive coordinators, I should say. Let's learn that. I'm fine mentally, physically. I got more weapons now, and I honestly think he's going to have a big year. When I ranked these quarterbacks in 2020, I thought Tua was going to be the best out of the three, and he was the worst. And I liked all three of them. I liked Tua, I liked Herbert, and I love Joe Burrow. And they were both all three of them were in the perfect situation for them. I think Tua is going to have a big year in 2020.
Yeah, see, I was not a big Tua guy. Was not a big Tua guy coming out. Too small, beat up, injury issues. Not talent-wise, just wasn't sure that he could withstand the punishment. We'll see. I mean, I don't know, man. He for him to come out and say, I didn't know. You're the leader of the team. You went out there and didn't know the playbook. That's not a great way to go into the locker room. But he can shut us all up, I guess, by having a big year. We will see there. Let me ask you about Brandon Brooks. Yesterday, he admitted that the team was trying to trade him. I thought that was interesting. But I loved when he got asked a question about coming back from this Achilles. And he said, I've already done this once, and I was the best guard in football, period. He doesn't sound like a guy that has any reservations about returning from a second Achilles injury.
For a guy who, had his mental health issues and battled anxiety, he's confident. I love it personally. Right? I love the confidence in him. Look, I've been there, done that. I'm still Brandon Brooks. I'm still a great right guard. In fact, I think Brandon Brooks is a little inspired by Landon Dickerson being here, because he just reminds me of a guy who's going to say, look, this guy's coming in here to take my job. I am not letting this happen. I am going to be the best right guard in football again. And I honestly think Brandon Brooks coming back to the Eagles is bigger than Lane Johnson coming back, bigger than any injury they had last year. Brandon Brooks is the linchpin to this offensive line. He is that good. He is an all-pro right guard for a reason. And I feel like that, he is willing to stay in Philadelphia for as long as he can. I mean, he deserves every ounce of his contract right now, Mike.
Yeah, and look, they have an out in his deal in 2022. But if he comes back there and plays like he did before, this is a guy I don't want to say a career Eagle, because obviously he didn't play his whole career here. But he has been a dominant contributor. And when we had heard in the offseason on right here, Jeff Mosher was on with us and said, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they moved him. And I'm thinking, they can't move him. I mean, he's the most dominant right guard in football. I get the salary restraints, but they figured out a way to keep him. So I don't know what they were thinking about trying to move a guy like that. That to me was a little surprising.
Maybe a team called them and said, hey, look, what would it take to get Brandon Brooks? And maybe the Eagles considered it just because of the huge cap hit. I mean, I thought it would have been crazy on their part. I know guards you could say they're replaceable, but this is Brandon Brooks here. This isn't Isaac Seumalo, who, by the way, is a good guard in and of itself. But who would you replace Brandon Brooks with at this point?
That's a good question. Do you think they drafted Dickerson to replace him or to replace Kelsey?
I think they were drafted to replace whoever goes first, honestly. I mean, if Jason Kelsey decides to retire, then you put Landon Dickerson in at left guard, or Isaac Seumalo at center. You put Landon Dickerson in at center, and you keep Seumalo at left guard. But maybe the Eagles felt like if Brandon Brooks has another injury, he's done, and they can move on from him, and that's where Landon Dickerson slots in. But then you got to worry about where Kelsey is. So I honestly think Landon Dickerson is here to be the eventual heir apparent for Jason Kelsey whenever he does decide to retire, if he decides to retire anytime soon. I know he's been flirting with it each year, but he seems more dedicated to the game than ever. And I think he knows how good he actually is and how well he plays. I think when his play diminishes is when he actually decides to hang it up.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm very interested in where Dickerson lines up when they get to camp.
I am too. I honestly think they're going to play him everywhere. Left guard, center, right guard. I mean, they'll probably even play him a tackle. We'll say that Dickerson is actually healthy.
If let's say Lane Johnson gets hurt, does Dickerson go to right tackle?
I don't know. I don't think they put Andre Dillard there. Maybe they put Jordan Mailata there and they put Andre Dillard at left tackle and try that experiment out again, because we all know Andre Dillard does not like playing right tackle, but Jordan Mailata has played and he's played it pretty well. So maybe that's the direction they go in first.
Well, I mean, because it's obvious that they like Dickerson a lot. So if it's like, hey, if there's an injury across this line, you're taking that guy's spot.
Yeah, it's not like he can't do it either. So yeah, maybe he is that guy. Like he just comes right in right away. But I don't know when Landon Dickerson's actually going to come back. Is it going to be by training camp, or is it?
We don't know, right?
Yeah, I mean, will he even play a preseason game? I'm hoping he does, but we'll see.
All right, June 1st, big day in the NFL. That is on what, Monday? No, that is on Tuesday. Is the June 1st date, so we might see some new opportunities, new talent in the free agent pool come June 1st. And then, of course, the salary cap. You're going to see the Eagles making a bunch of signings for their rookies because they're going to get the salary cap relief on that day as well. We'll have it covered for you here on the Sports Bash. Jeff Kerr, happy Memorial Day weekend, my friend. Good to see you.
Thanks. And once again, I feel like this is going to be the first time in a long time the NFL is going to take like an extended break until Tuesday, June 1st. So I don't think we're going to see much NFL news over the past couple of days. Julio Jones or Aaron Rodgers really get traded this weekend, I would be shocked since.
Wow, Aaron Rodgers out playing the guitar right now, so he's fine.
Yeah, did you hear about the Miles Teller thing? Like he's out with Miles Teller, and Miles Teller allegedly got punched. Isn't he with Aaron Rodgers right now on vacation?
Something like that, yeah. I had Miles Teller on the show at the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
How about that? Hey, Downingtown guy.
Yeah, nice guy. He was pretty down to earth kind of guy. So if he got punched in the face, I feel bad for him.
Yeah, I do too. Like to me, Miles Teller is too likable to get punched in the face. But
he's likable too. He's Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports at Jeff Kerr CBS on Twitter. Give him a follow, and of course, right here on the Sports Bash Boardwalk Honda Hotline. All right, Jeff, take care, pal.
Yeah, sounds great. Have a good weekend, Mike.
You do the same, and it's brought to you by your Delaware Valley Acura dealers for great deals on award-winning lineups. Shop online at DelValAcuraDealers.com. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. We're getting ready to wrap up a happy hour Friday. Oh, my gosh. I feel like this week has been dragging, but we've reached the end. We'll do this together. Coming up next here on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. All right, let's get ready. Our Friday here on the Sports Bash, live on 97.3 ESPN. It's been a great week. If you missed any of our guests, you can always check out our YouTube channel. Search 973 ESPN. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. Good weekend, good lineup of guests all week long with Gary, Tommy Green, Paul Hudrick, Cam Rogers back there talking about the PGA, Jeff Kerr all week long, Bob Wankel on the Phillies, Jeff Nadeau, Sal Palantonio, Adam Kaplan, Jeff Mosher, Colin Thompson, Michael Lee, Mark Jackson. For all of those guests and their insight, check out 973ESPN.com. We are off on Monday, but we got a busy weekend. Tonight, it's Nets in Boston. Tomorrow, we've got Milwaukee and the Heat. San Diego, Houston baseball, Sixers, Wizards, Game 3. On Sunday, we've got the Lakers in Phoenix, and Sunday night baseball, which is Braves, Mets this week. Good one. And Monday, Memorial Day, we will have a special Best of the Sports Bash up till 3:30 when Major League Baseball will take on the air. Red Sox, Astros, followed by the Sixers and Wizards, and then Utah and Memphis. Busy weekend. We've got Billy in the locker room tomorrow. Josh has Sports Bash Saturday for 1 hour on Saturday. And then Billy's back in the locker room on Sunday. Got all that? Good. And coming up next, it's game night. Frank Close joins Josh for a little Phillies conversation. All right. How are we going to end this week here?
Well, Mike, I know you and Pete were talking about, you talked with Colin Thompson as well, touched on with Bob Wankel. You like this. This is the day every year you like to talk to people about the places that we like here at the Jersey Shore, for all the people who are either coming down or they're en route or they're making their plans, whatever's going on with them.
Right. So we were talking about with PT, and people were texting in different places. So before I kind of rip off, people have been texting in a lot of different places on where they like to go. Where are some of the places that people will find you this summer?
All right. So I decided to write down like my top ones. All right. So I try to make.
Yeah, I don't want your low level ones.
Well, I don't go to low levels.
No, I said your low level ones, not low level ones, just your low level ones.
Fine. All right. So one of my favorites is down in Stone Harbor, the Stone Harbor Bar and Grill. It's right there on 96th Street when you come into town. I love the place for two reasons. One, because when you get to sit at the bar, they have all the games on the TVs and the windows are open. It's the coolest thing in the world. You have the fresh air coming from the outside, but you're inside with a drink, watching the game, and the food's great.
Yeah. I've never been there before, but is that right there on that street that has everything?
96th Street, right there.
That's a good
right
street.
In town. Boom, right there.
I like going. I usually will hit Stone Harbor once or twice this summer.
Staying in Cape May County.
You're a Cape, so Josh is a Cape May County guy, just for the people.
Yeah, when I first came down in South Jersey, I lived in Sea Isle for a huge chunk of my life, then Ocean City, and that's where I spent a lot of time. West Wildwood has a great dive bar called the West Side Saloon.
West Wildwood. That was a good conversation a couple of years ago that PT had. He didn't even know it existed.
He didn't know it existed. Well, let me tell you, it does exist, and the West Side Saloon is awesome.
No, they probably don't even want you telling people about it.
Maybe not, but I don't care. I go. I love it. It's great food, great environment, great atmosphere, great people. Also, in regular Wildwood, the Deck at Holly Beach. Great entertainment, great service, and it's half outside, half inside. So if the weather's bad, you could be on the inside part, but the weather's nice, you can go on the other side, have a drink, and enjoy the entertainment outside.
Sounds a lot like when I go to Florida.
Also, Strathmere, the Duval Inn. It might be like, where the heck is Strathmere? Go to Sea Isle, go north. Duval Inn, you could drink while sitting on the beach.
Been there many times?
I've done it more than many times.
I said I've been there many times.
Oh, you've been there many times.
Yes.
So there's your Cape May County junket.
All right, there you go. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself this weekend somewhere out there at one of those spots or one of your favorite spots. Be safe. Enjoy the weekend. It's a Memorial Day weekend for one and all. The summer is back down the Jersey Shore. We welcome you here, but don't be jerks. That's all we ask.
No spitting.
Remember, there are people that live here year round.
No pouring popcorn at people's heads.
That was a low blow. All right, Josh has game night next. Have a great weekend. I'm back on Tuesday. Hey, it's Mike Gill. Hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend. We're back on Tuesday. Will the Sixers series be over, or will it be a fight with the Wizards? We'll recap. Michael Kasky-Blomain, 320. Plus, it's a Tuesday with Thompson. The PT will be here, and we'll talk a little NFL inside the NFC East. June 1st, big day in the NFL. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports at 525.